Friday edition of Breakfast Central. It is the end of the week, and we're very excited about that. Thank you for starting the week with us. And to kickstart the celebrations this week, we want to say a very, 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 very happy birthday to Bella, who's one of our directors here. She's in the control room. I probably didn't see this coming. So you are the energy we're starting off the show with. Thank you for all the contribution to making our shows fly so excellently. Now that we've set that in front, you're welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Olive MOD.
And I'm Joe Hansen. I thought you were also going to mention the holiday, but then again, we're back at work.
It never feels like a holiday for us. So happy Eid al-Maulud to all the Muslim faithfuls around the world celebrating. It never feels like holiday for us because every day is just like another day on the calendar to come to work. But you're the reason we do it, and we're not complaining. We're excited to do what we do. The good thing is the roads are incredibly free.
Oh my goodness. Compared to what happened yesterday. Oh my. If you were stuck in that traffic from the mainland down to the island in Lagos, Nigeria, not those who are watching us from Abuja, Port Harcourt, or wherever, Lagos was chaotic yesterday.
It was terrible. I was
terrible.
cranky. I hadn't had anything to eat. I was cranky. It was such a terrible, terrible experience. But we made it. We're back here, and it's almost the weekend. How are you? What's your plan for the weekend?
Well, you know that statement is usually and the politicians.
Is usually people who don't know what their next answer is. When politicians are trying to figure out the next line.
Well, the federal government does. But for the weekend, let me see. A lot of possibly rest.
You need it.
Rest,
your voice is
to clear the voice properly, and then a lot of eating. I had something fantastic yesterday. It was good, really good.
Shout out to the wifey or to you. Who did the cooking?
No. It was eat out, but it was fantastic. It was fantastic.
I love it for you. So it's a restful weekend for you.
Yeah. So I should just start off the weekend by resting and cooling off, but not until we also talk about someone who has taken some time off.
To rest.
10 days.
Because rest is an important part of life, a very, very important part of life. You know,
Nigeria's #1 citizen.
Of course, he's gone on a working vacation.
In Europe.
He's gone to rest. No, sorry.
They said no rest.
It's not rest. That's why I took that back. It's a working vacation in Europe.
Well, is there anything like working vacation?
So that's the thing. It would be great for Bayo
and vacation.
Yes, it would be great for Bayo Ononuga to tell us what a working vacation is. And the president, for example, has been to France at least 7 times. We often hear he's going for a working vacation, he's going for this. When he's going for business meetings, they are very clear and they tell us he's going to do this, and then we see the outcome. I can run through, I have a list of some of the meetings he's gone for, the trips and the outcomes. The only concern is if you do a comparative analysis to a number of countries around the world, we don't see that level of traveling from their leaders. So when Nigerians talk about it, it's not because they're trying to be petty, because they think at the end of the day, Joe Biden will hardly leave America. You know, he's going to Delaware, or he's going to Camp David. He's going to places within America for his holiday if he has to take his vacation. So I think, I mean, when Bayo Ononuga put out the tweet, and if we have that, we can share that. When he did put out the tweet, the responses to that, we could see people saying, if you're going to be clear with us, be 100% clear, right? Don't give us half, information, piecemeal information. So if you're going to be clear, be 2001% and say the president is going on a working vacation. These are the things he's looking to do whilst away. So we understand what the metrics are. You have KPIs that you're assessing, because for every day that the president is in office, he's been assessed. He's been assessed for how well he's leading, how well his policies are impacting. And when he's on holiday, at least if the president is going to rest, tell us what the president is going to rest. And it will be nice for him to go and rest in, Obukatu Ranch. You could go see Warm Springs and all these other lovely places in Nigeria.
I mean, I agree with you. If he's going on a break, let it just be mentioned that, listen, the president is going on a break, or just simple as ABC, or vacation. But then again, that's the tweet where he says President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will depart Abuja today, September 4, to commence a working vacation in Europe as part of his 2025 annual leave. Now, this is where I get it confused.
What is a working vacation?
Working vacation, annual leave.
Well, So he has annual leave, but the truth is because the problem of the country, they finish.
So he'll be
there, vacationing and working. It's just like certain people. And now this is a very interesting picture. It's like, Daddy, bye-bye.
Video is
our daddy has gone. So again, Governor Hope Uzodimma, Governor Sanwo-Olu, we understand he's in Lagos. So, okay, he walks him to the airport. But this culture is another thing that people have criticized, that why do we always feel like high-level cabinet members have to leave what they're doing? Don't they have work to do, that they're escorting the president every time, or they're doing a receiving of the president every time?
Lined up. I mean, this is a new norm. We're starting to see.
It's not new. It's been the norm. So I don't think that is something that would, yeah. So at the end of the day, it's very important to specify what exactly is going on. I think a bit more clarity will be needed.
Look at this.
A bit more clarity.
Bye.
And just to mention that the president is allowed to take leave. If he needs to take a break, he needs to take a break. And then he can hand over responsibilities to the vice president. That's why we have a vice president. Vice president should not be a figurehead.
But has the vice president ever taken responsibility since the president has been traveling?
But that's the thing. It feels like the role of the vice president is more figurative, in Nigeria.
Okay, so the waving of the flight now. The question I want to ask: can the president see them from the?
Yeah, he can.
Okay, you can see them from there as they're waving. Okay.
Well, anyway. Nigerians, of course, I'm sure, are definitely having their thoughts and say about this. And I can only imagine what social media is saying. Because it feels like every time that they announce that the president is traveling, Nigerians are upset. Baba has a right to travel. But if he's traveling, if he wants to rest, he should rest. And then hand over work to his deputy.
Simple.
Also, it would be great to have a clearer picture as to what is happening. If I'm going on work, when I'm on vacation, I mute Breakfast Central group. I don't want to see anything happening in the group because I'm on vacation. That's how it's meant to be.
You need to clear your mind.
You need to clear your head.
And just live your life.
Exactly.
Just live.
When you're going on vacation, you are on proper vacation. Don't mix vacation and work. Then you now come back tired. Once you're refreshed, coming back looking like you've been rejuvenated and revived. But let's see what Nigerians are saying. Maybe they have a different thought process. In the last week alone, Nigeria has lost at least 20 lives to truck accidents. In any normal country, that is a national tragedy. But under President Tinubu and the APC, there was no statement, no visit, no mourning, just silence. And then a presidential vacation. How else does someone tell you they don't care about you? Is this the kind of leadership APC wants Nigerians to vote in 2027? Question mark. Well, it's not me that we answer. Nigerians we answer at the polls. Ekutosi Cynthia Nneke says, the president is leaving the country from Abuja, and Governor Sanwo-Olu and Uzodimma would abandon their duties to travel all the way from Lagos and Imo respectively to go give him a handshake and wave his aircraft while he departs. This is so shameful. See, Governor Sanwo-Olu's own, you can explain. What is the explanation for Hope Uzodimma? He left Imo State.
Have you noticed I can't even talk?
I've seen.
I'm shocked.
So, no, you leave your state, go, they wave your papa like say, now your first time to travel be this. Who dig this sky pit for Lagos? Oh, Nigerians is so shady.
Nigerians on social media,
so shady.
The most traveled president, keep flying, Jare. After all, you are BAT. BAT stands for Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
As per BAT flying, that's what the person.
So you see what he did
people are disrespectful.
Well, of course, that's what he did. They was able to. So, but it's a Bola Ahmed Tinubu, by the way, which of course is BAT. Yomi Badru says, working vacation, you said, of the 30 days he is entitled to, how many has he taken in the year 2025, and why can't he hand over to his vice instead of a working vacation? And that's one of the questions that everyone seems to be asking. Why can't he just hand over like it's done in other climes? If you need to go for a break, that's why you have a vice. The vice was there for a reason and for a purpose. Is it a taboo for our president to sit still in Nigeria and make things right? Always traveling to Europe. Meanwhile, there is renewed hopelessness. Really? Insecurity and hardship in the country. Can the president sit still and address all these frustrations in Nigeria? I'm tired. King Steph says. And that's what we have, Olive.
Yep. Well, do let us know what you think. Do you think it's not a big deal? I mean, people are just as much ado about nothing, and the president should be allowed to his leave, his working vacation, or is there more to it? Let us know. We're streaming live on YouTube via News Central. You can drop your thoughts in the chat box. But let's now move to another story, very interesting. There's several reasons why a match can temporarily take a pause. Either one of the players have gotten injured, or they need to do an exchange during the match, or, you know, it's halftime and they need to take a quick break. Or, you know, there needs to be a penalty shootout, so there's like a brief pause while they're making the decisions on who's going to take the,
absolutely,
you know, the free kick or whatever. We have the most interesting reason why a match was halted, and this time around it's because of a swarm of bees. They invaded a pitch in Tanzania, and I know I'm smiling, but it's not a funny story, but it's also a very interesting story that shows the intersection between nature and our human everyday life. So that's the pitch where everybody immediately prostrates. They are prostrating to nature. Everyone sits still because nobody wants to be stung.
See, everybody is going down
very quickly.
See, greet your
Now, this is not the first time that this is happening. We've seen this happen before. There was a Federation Cup match on December 21st, 2019 at Uhuru Stadium in Dar es Salaam, where just 7 minutes into the match, a swarm of bees took over the pitch. Players, officials, and even fans had to take cover. Many lying flat on the ground. Some players were stung, including Yanga star Ali Sonso, who received medical treatment before returning to play. The delay lasted about 10 minutes before the match resumed, and Yanga won that game 4-0. Now, various reports have echoed the same story, confirming that it was a singular event of its kind. However, this happened in 2025 again. We had September 2025, where a pre-season international tournament match on September 3rd, 2025 at Kwara Stadium in Babati. In the 77th or 78th minute, a swarm descended onto the field. Players, match officials, and even a camera operator dropped to the ground. Substitutes hid under the benches. Miraculously, no one was stung, and the match resumed shortly afterward as City FC Abuja went on to win the match.
I mean, in all of this, shout out to the guy who's still panning the camera. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's taking his time. But he's taking his time to pan the cameras, you know, move from wide to close up.
Exactly. Possibly
using the switcher as well. Seeing cam 1, cam 2, he's going down, who's there, who's lying down, and so on and so forth. But it's one thing to note, especially when you see bees coming onto the pitch.
Well, there are several reasons. I mean, the bees will move in their swarms for several reasons, and it's not really unusual. They move once or twice a year, and the beekeepers will tell you, the experts will tell you that there are several reasons why they move. They're either moving because their hive has been attacked, or they're moving that they're relocating. They're looking for a new home. And in that moment, typically, they would say that when the hive is moving, they're not dangerous, so long as you don't attack. So don't make a lot of... So I actually went online to look for what to do when you see a beehive. And part of what was said to be done is do not attack. Do not make a loud noise. Just be quiet. That they are typically not aggressive. They don't feel the need to defend themselves because you're not attacking them. If you now want to, you know, the way we typically do,
show yourself.
Want to show yourself, maybe you want to stone them, you want to throw water, spray water at them, whatever you see, you collect. And then one of the things I had seen when I looked online as to how to protect yourself would be, if you feel like maybe you've attacked them or you mistakenly walked into them and they're now attacking you, run. Run in a straight line. Don't run in
zigzag.
Don't do zigzag.
I think you're supposed to run in a zigzag rather than a straight line.
No, straight line actually. That's what I saw online. And they said don't jump into the water. That if you jump into the water, they're going to wait on the surface of the water. That they can stay on the surface of the water. When you come out, it's going to be a bad thing. But yeah, that's just a very interesting video that we saw there. Again, shows the interactions between nature and our human existence, and the fact that there has to be some form of peaceful coexistence. It's why we see a lot of more people advocating, interestingly, more for animals. They think that if it wasn't a bee, if it was somewhere in the West, maybe in other developed climes, haven't you seen all those videos where people will be in their houses and a bear will walk into the kitchen and then they'll say it's good for them. Why do you go and build house near their houses that you should actually? I see some of these comments where they say, oh, I wish this world was full of animals. I wish all humans will go and animals will remain. I see a number of these comments and I'm like, must be nice.
But what happens in Nigeria mostly?
No. Nigerians, I don't think that Nigeria is very, unfortunately, I don't think that we're as warm to animals as we should be.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate because it's why you would see people who would rescue those really mighty,
Sharks,
humongous
like recently
fishes,
there were fishes.
and instead of letting them back into the sea, or maybe taking, I don't know, or taking them to some, but just basically letting them back into the sea, they will hardly do that. They are rejoicing. They are already killing them and looking for
knife, that guy's out, everything.
For meat or for flesh that they would sell. So we're not. Again, it might be because of poverty, but also because people are very uninformed.
I think it's also a lack of education.
Yes, people are very
understand
uninformed.
that everything that comes out of the water is not food. And then there's something about wildlife, humanity, and so on. But let's see reactions.
To see a lion, for example,
a
baby lion, I will not keep a baby lion. I will find a way, even if yes, at that point it's not something that can attack me, right? I will find a way to get it to a zoo, somewhere that they can reintegrate it back into the forest where it should be. But a number of these things many people don't know about, again, because we don't seem to prioritize animals as much as we should.
Maybe because we're telling too much hunter stories of the
past.
I
don't think it's that. I don't know what it is, but anyway, let's see what the reactions are to the bee incidents.
I want these bees at Old Trafford. Jesus
Oh
Christ.
my goodness. Why are you doing this thing now? Man, you fans, we are not violent. This one says, B, ignore the fans.
Yes, that picture, if you look at
they
the picture,
wanted to sting the players only.
If you look at that, you see a place where all the fans were seated as if nothing was going on, while the bees just focused only on the pitch. You take a look at that picture, can you see them?
Yeah,
all seated,
I can see
relaxed. Nothing is going on according to them.
Very interesting.
The bees just came, only on the pitch. Anyway, let's go back to the tweets. This one says, there's thief.
There's a thief among people who is in the field, but for the bees not to identify the thief, that means none of them are clean either. I don't understand. This one is probably attaching some spiritual connotation.
Village people,
the target person for live TV, valid. Facts. It's not village people anything. Tumbling Fire says, bees stopping a football match in Tanzania. That's a plot twist no one saw coming. Absolutely. Well, just to, mention there that if you ever see a bee, a swarm, stay calm, keep your distance, do not disturb them. Call local authorities or beekeepers. I don't know if we have beekeepers in Nigeria. No, we do have beekeepers. We just don't know enough of. How can I say that?
We do.
How can I say that? Because my dad, who is he's an expert. He's a doctor, and his department is in wildlife and forestry. I remember then he used to actually go into the forest. He would wear I've forgotten what their outfit is. They go to harvest honey and all that. So yes, we do have beekeepers and people who also shout out to you, Daddy. Anyway, I hope you're watching.
It's just to break things a little. Let's move on to another wake-up conversation now.
This one is very sad.
Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
It's got to do with Revelation. There's a new revelation in town.
And when he says revelation, we don't mean the last book in the Bible.
Olive, calm down. Go ahead. Binga is not here. Calm down. Anyway, let's quickly tell Nigerians that the governor, a very popular governor, has come out to say that if he's given the opportunity, it will take him less than 2 months to clear all bandits, especially in the north, particularly in his state. Now, let's quickly break the story down for you so that you can quickly understand what we're saying. The video emerged yesterday, and the video has caused a lot of reactions on social media. Everyone is starting to talk about why is it that this statement was made now, and why is it that this statement was made at a time when Nigerians have been asking the federal government, is it possible to ensure the safety and lives of every single citizen in the country? But let's tell you very quickly that Zamfara governor has said that he knows the bandits' hideout, but he's not able to do anything because he doesn't have a direct, he can't give directions to the security operatives in the state. Rather, he understands that the directive only comes from the federal government in Abuja. And in this video, unfortunately, it's we didn't get the transcribed one, the translator yet. So he's actually speaking in Hausa, and then where he made mention of the fact that even on his mobile device, he can show you where the bandits are currently in Zamfara state, and he knows when they go out and when they come in. However, he knows how to wipe them out completely, but he cannot do so because he does not have the powers to control the security operatives. That the powers only come from the Federal Capital Territory.
And you know why this is very concerning? Because Nigeria has had a struggle with insecurity, and if the governor of Zamfara State, Dauda Lawal, comes out to say that he knows the hideouts of these terrorists, and if given the authority, he would deal with insecurity. He said his people are bleeding and that his heart is aching at the fact that he can't do anything about it. Why this hurts is also because in recent time, Malam Nasir El-Rufai also granted an interview where he made reference to the fact that the federal government is complicit in the fight against Boko Haram, saying that what he will not do is to feed terrorists or send them allowances. You know that in Nigeria we've had what they would refer to as a non-kinetic approach to fighting terrorism, where we've even seen them many times reintegrating terrorists back into the society, de-radicalizing them, reintegrating them back into the society. So what he's inferring is that this terrorists, through the office of the National Security Advisor, are being sent food, sent supplies, given monthly allowance, a claim that ONSA has largely disregarded. They've said it's not true, but he's standing by his statement. So again, it points a lot of fingers to the federal government in this fight against insecurity, and how well the federal government has to defend itself. How true are these statements? If these public figures, these people who are influential persons within Nigeria's government, come out to say that they either know about where these terrorists are, or they know that they're being fed monthly, they're being given allowances, it brings again back to the surface the importance that Nigeria as a government, the Nigerian government has attached to the fight against insecurity, and how well we prioritize the well-being of the Nigerian people. Maybe the silver lining would be President Tinubu's stance on state police. Maybe that will help. But
this is the second time we're having this indictment come in less than a month. Yeah, within a month.
Because today is how many? It was on the 1st of September.
The embattled politician Nasir El-Rufai saying that he understands that the government takes care, they know where the bandits are, they take care of them, they're paid, and so on.
This is not the first time that we
And then you have another person coming out. Now, one thing I also noticed was that people were saying, a few persons, not generally, but a few persons on social media were saying because he is of the PDP. So that's why he's making such statements. And somebody is also linking it to the fact that Nasir El-Rufai has fallen off with the president and, of course, APC, and that's why they're coming to talk. But the point is, if a governor makes such a strong statement, to remember that the army, the military did respond to Nasir El-Rufai's claims and saying, no, that's not true, that's not actually, it's not right, it's not correct, it's wrong. And you have another governor this time of Zamfara State coming out to say something similar, and therefore claiming that he can show you on his mobile phone. My expectation, starting from today up until, let's give it till maybe Tuesday, we hope that maybe the security operatives will now swing into action, possibly call him, invite him. We want to hear that and say, okay, fine, prove this to us, and then let's see if they will do anything about it. Because it's quite sad. If it's true, Olive, then it goes ahead to support the statements that have been made either in the past or that have been made by these certain persons who have claimed that, listen, the insecurity system or insecurity that is happening in the north or in the middle belt is something that is known by the federal government according to these individuals. So it's something they need to look into.
Again, there are those who have, it has also sparked certain reactions. There are people who are asking if Dauda Lawal is saying this as an excuse, if it's given an excuse, because part of what he was promising, during the campaign days, were that he'll deal with insecurity. So they're wondering, is this part of an excuse? Every time we've talked about the insecurity challenges here on the show, there are certain people, for example, security analyst Oyekachi Adekoya, who joins us on the show regularly, always says that the bulk rests on the responsibility of the governors, that they are the chief security officers of the state, yet they may not be able to convert.
Well, he says he's handicapped now.
The army, that they may not be able to command, that they have...
the police.
No, they may not have control, but they don't have command, but they have control. And that there's a difference. You should be able to know the difference. And the truth is, if they need things done, they'll get things done. So I'm really glad that the conversation about state police is kicking into full effect. And it's coming to the fore. Because then what will be the excuse?
Will it really change anything?
It will change a lot of things. It will change a lot of things because before now, it was very easy to push all the blame to Mr. President and say, oh, the federal government this, federal government that. And yes, the federal government may very well be culpable in a number of these actions or a number of these inactions. But then when it has been decentralized, citizens will then be fully aware to know that when there's a state of insecurity in your state, hold on to your governor. Hold on to the governor. Anyway, let's hear what Nigerians think about this. They're reacting on social media, and let's hear their thoughts on this subject matter. Now, Daniel Rega says, a sitting governor is powerless to combat bandits in his own state, but the case won't be the same when it's time to silence peaceful protesters. If there's an ongoing protest in Zamfara state that gains momentum, the governor will likely be quick to act. That's speaking from the pains of NSAS and the subsequent protests. Pat Smart says, but we cannot act because we don't have the power. This implies that state governors do not have operational control over the security agencies within their jurisdictions and are unable to mobilize them independently to tackle banditry. Our next tweet is we have another tweet. Kumi Adelokiki says, Nigeria is the only country that negotiates with and rehabilitates terrorists. Allegedly, elements within our military are backing them, and one of their early masterminds sits in How
sure are you?
Alakubao. Anyway, let's move on from this tweet to another tweet. It says, if a sitting governor admits he knows where bandit leaders are, but has no power to act, what hope is left for ordinary citizens? This is either an indictment of weak governance or a confession of helplessness in the face of terror. By
Olive, I told you that this statement. Anyway, let's wrap this one up.
Enugu First Son says, Tinubu should sign that bill on state police immediately. Well,
to be honest, this is a very strong indictment. When it came from a former governor, we can say that the weight it carried, it was heavy, but this is different from a current sitting governor of a state, who only did not just say it. He called the press conference and he held his phone high and said, I can prove it. That's like the strongest indictment ever. So I'm hoping that the security chiefs would actually stand up now and possibly call for a meeting and let Nigerians know what the outcome is. Because let me also say here that in his statement, he said that he does not have control. It comes from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And we do understand that that's where you have the office of the security chiefs, right there in Abuja. So if he can't control them as a state governor by telling them that, listen, you need to go out there and ensure that you guarantee safety or attack, this is where they are, it means that he doesn't have clearance. But that's according to him. So let's wait for the security chiefs to actually react to that story. It's indeed a very interesting one because it's still trending online. Nigerians are reacting to it on social media. Everyone is talking about it and saying, how come this is like a repetition of what was said a few weeks ago and nobody's taking account of what's really happening? How true is it? Or is it just as a result of being a political jibe? Because one, when you're saying, since you belong to an opposition party, you will do everything to rubbish the current ruling party. But
it's not about this one. Is we should move beyond politics.
Quite different.
It's the lives of Nigerian
citizens
tie
politics to
that are at stake. The Nigerian citizens we deserve to feel safe. People deserve. While we're here talking, there are people in the Yelwata community who have not yet recovered from the back-to-back blows that they're dealing with. Some people have been in the IDP camps and don't even have a dream of when they would be able to return to regular life, having their own homes. So insecurity should be on the top burner. Dealing with insecurity should be a priority and should be on the top burner of this government. And that's all that we have this morning on Wake Up Conversations. Remember, we're streaming live on YouTube. You can go and drop your thoughts there. And during the show, we'll go on YouTube from time to time to pick your reactions. But let's now share with you what our top stories are. This morning on Breakfast Central, our top stories. I know bandits hideouts, but we don't have power to act, Zamfara Governor Dauda Lawal says. FCCPC unveils rule to end loan app harassment, imposing sanctions. Fantastic. Ex-servicemen protest over non-payment of entitlement. A really sad one there. And River State is counting down as residents anticipate the end of emergency rule and the recall of Governor Siminalayi Fubara. We'll have the front pages of the newspapers to bring to you. Stay with us. Governor of Zamfara State, Dauda Lawal, says he can end banditry in just 2 months if he's given direct control over security agencies. He claims to know the exact locations of bandit leaders and says the only thing stopping him is Abuja's grip on command.
The governor, who broke down in tears while recounted recent attacks in a video which went viral on Wednesday, insisted that with his knowledge of the terrain and the locations of criminal leaders, he could swiftly end the menace if he had the necessary powers. Well, joining us for this discussion is the Director General, International Institute of Professional Security, Dr. Tony Ofoyeton, who joins us this morning. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
All right, so let's dig into this. I mean, being a security expert, the conversation online simply is one which has gotten a lot of persons talking. How come a governor doesn't have the wherewithal, the power, the strength to be able to call on the security operatives to flush out, as he mentioned, bandits, especially within Zamfara State? Why must he rely on the federal capital territory? Or better still, why must he rely on Abuja?
Thank you very much once again. I think the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as it is today, that unfortunately happened to be the defect that is incapacitating many of the governors, especially when it comes to, one, the ability of the governor to issue executable instructions to the Commissioner of Police, the GOCs, and all other flag officers are commanding in their respective locations. Because even when the governor gives instruction or the governor gives intelligence, the Commissioner of Police and the military officers and security agencies are bound to get specific orders from their bosses in the headquarters. In the absence of that, they will not be able to do anything. So that the governor of a state is the chief security officer of his or her state as it is, it's just a nomenclature as it were. They don't have that military might. Don't forget that as we speak now, it is only established government security agencies that can bear arms. I'm talking of federal government security agencies, the Army, the Police, the Navy, the Air Force, and SCDC. Maybe a little portion of customs and the like, very selected few of them that can bear arms. And we are talking about terrorism. So terrorism is not a battle of clubs and sticks. It's a battle of sophisticated weapon and weaponry. So if that is the case, that simply means that even if the governor is aware of the hideout of these criminals or these terrorists, the best he can do is to give information to federal government security agencies, and they decide whether they want to go there or they don't want to go there. Depending on them, all variables are actually put in place. And those variables many a times don't actually work in favor of the populace as it were. But having said so, don't forget also that the military is in operation in more than 33 states of the Federation, where unfortunately we are not in a war situation. So you see that the military, be it Army, Navy, or Air Force, they are all, busy. The same thing with the police. So at the end of the day, the best the federal government can do is to think of a complementary agency or complementary strategy that can actually be able to fill in the gap of this obvious inadequacy. They are very obvious because as we speak now, what is the numerical strength of the whole military formation in Nigeria? So if you look at it from that perspective, and you also look at the level of sophistication of the terrorists, you look at the level of their strategic approach, then I think it behooves on the government to think outside the box. And truly, I'm also excited that Mr. President is now beginning to tilt towards state policing, which some of us have before now advocated. We have shouted about it that, look, the best way to go now is state policing. It's not injurious. We've tried different types of, government in this country, from Republican, here we are, regional, here we are, a democratic system of government, a federal system of government rather, and we are still evolving. So the same thing should be applicable to security. It should not be so sacrosanct to the extent that we'll say federal policing should just be the finality of it all. There are a lot of strategies that can be adopted in such a manner that our fears will be allayed when it comes to proper federal policing structure and the like. So for me, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I also understand the position of the governor saying that he is more or less incapacitated, as it were.
Well, I mean, I hear you when you say you understand the position of the governor. There have been reactions to this, and those who criticize the governor saying that he rode on the back of insecurity during his campaign to get into office, and now he's gotten in there and is posing this as an excuse, that what must have changed between the time during, campaigns up until now. Did he not know that the constitutional provision you just made reference to, did he not know what the systems and structures in terms of command and control were? So what would your response be to that? I'm not a politician, and I know very well that in politics there are a lot of seemingly truth but lies that are told just to get that power, even though you know that some things may not be very workable. When a politician says that I will deal with security decisively when I get there, then the question should be whether he would have that might. And when I talk about might, I'm talking about weaponry and the necessary resources. It's only federal government as it is, and based on the type of constitution that we operate today. So if the governor had rode on that mantra to be able to get that seat, for me, it's understandable. An average politician globally plays such politics. But it's also good that one of the things that he's also doing now is speak out. That speaking out will also be able to, blackmail the government to be able to look towards their side, and if possible, to be able to do what is needed. And I can tell you that one of such is the fact that the federal government is more or less like conceding to now begin to actually think of the actualization of state policing. So if you ask me, I will tell you that technically he's doing it, but operationally, the state governor may not have that military might, especially because the law does not allow the vigilantes, the state security architectures to bear arms. If the law allows them to bear arms, then the governor becomes 100% answerable
to any act of terrorism in their state. But for today, federal government carries the whole burden.
All right, so this kind of like exonerates the state governor. This also clarifies the fact why state governors have come out to say that there's nothing they really can do to end banditry within the quarters or within their states or borders. But
no, it's not as if there's nothing they cannot do. Right. Let's not deceive ourselves.
Okay.
Because if you collect security votes every month, that means that vote is meant for something. There's the high level of intelligence that is required of them at their own level. As some of the governors are even more or less like pampering the act of insecurity, because there are local vigilantes that can also be set up at their own level, and they can be broken into very small segments. Their own technology is also very veritable today. To what extent have even the state governors been able to procure the necessary technology, drones and the like, when you talk about quick response, and of course, if you also talk to the commissioner of police and you are on their neck and they know that you are determined as a governor, they also would also be able to do some, to a large level, they will also be able to respond. So it's not as if because the governors don't have the power to command the commissioner of police as it's supposed to be, does not mean that it is outrightly a hopeless situation. No, they also have their own contribution they give to all these security agencies at their own state level. And there's also the minimal expectation from security agencies. If the security agencies are not meeting up to their expectation, their governors, they have the power to be able to call the Inspector General of Police or call any of the service chiefs to make necessary. They also have the power to even meet Mr. President, lay their complaint as it were, as the option. They have the power to also raise up minor security teams in villages. So if they are determined, it's not as if they cannot do anything. No, but we are talking of this attack on sophisticated terrorists. That's what we're talking about. Ordinarily, when it comes to normal security issues within their domestic terrain, they have that absolute power to be able to do and undo. They have judicial system that can also even sentence up to the level of death. To what extent have they been able to prosecute terrorists or arrest terrorists within their own domain? There are state high courts. State high courts have that jurisdiction to prosecute any form of such offense, even to the level of sentencing them to death. So if they are saying that the government is not forthcoming, what happens if they are able to liaise with them, arrest those people that are perpetrators, prosecute them and sentence them to death, or sentence them to any form of imprisonment? Now, if they have the power to use the judicial system also, they have the power on legislation, the legal regime, to what extent have they been able to use their own legal regime to be able to curtail the excesses of people moving in and out of their state, people that don't have homes and they don't have places to stay, and they are staying in their respective states? To what extent have they been able to use the instrumentality of the law to curtail those excesses? And to what extent have they been able, to profile even their own citizens? No, these are things that are exclusive of state governors. So it's not as if everything is actually on the bulk of Mr. President. There are a lot of things that are on the table of the executive governors. To what extent have they been able to execute all this? The federal government, the only area we blame federal government as I speak today is basically because the state security apparatus are not armed. They are not armed. If they are armed, if you allow for a Lagos State safety neighborhood work also, if the law allow them to bear arms, that, okay, this is Lagos State security force, and it has the power to bear any form of arm. If there's any security challenge in Lagos State, then we hold Governor Sanwo-Olu responsible. That's the only difference. In the absence of that, the governors, why you see some people coming very hard on the governors.
Dr. Foyoto, just to, that's clarified at least. It shows that we cannot completely exonerate the state governors. They also do have their role to play. But I'd like us to look at the fact that a former state governor, Kaduna State Governor, by the name Nasir El-Rufai, just at the start of this month, September 1st, and also initially has mentioned that the federal government is deliberately, in his words, empowering the bandits, and also stated that they're providing them with monthly allowances, stipends, and so on and so forth. And then we have this statement as well, also made by another governor, but this time not directly blaming the federal government, but saying, you know, somehow or somewhat that he doesn't have the power because he's expecting that to come from the federal government. This indictment, or these indictments, what can this actually do to the security think tank of a country, especially looking at the fact that the National Security Advisor is actually the one that's having fingers being pointed towards his direction?
At Kaduna, when El-Rufai was the governor of Kaduna State, he had a very rough battle with the bandits because the information was that he was actually the person that was paying the bandits. And I think it was when it got to the level of the financial demand becoming too overbearing that he had to think outside and say, okay, look, I have to stop all this. And unfortunately, if you look throughout the 8 years of Governor El-Rufai, Kaduna was never at peace. Now today, look at what is happening in Kaduna. You will see relative peace in Kaduna. That should speak volume to an average Nigerian. If you have relative peace in Kaduna today, within a space of 2 years, and somebody was in Kaduna for 8 solid years, and it was torrential and relentless attack, I think that to that extent, let's leave the issue of El-Rufai. El-Rufai is a politician. So even if he's objective, for now, whatever he's going to say will be 100% tainted as political. And that is also what I would also look at it, because I've done the security, juxtaposition between his government and what is happening presently in his state. So as far as I'm concerned, the issue of NSA paying bandits and the like, it's a waiting one. If NSA had come out to say that, look, we don't do those type of things, and that means that you must have veritable evidence to show that they've been doing it. And the best you can do, you're a full animal. You understand the act of terrorism and the act of anti-terrorism in this country. Then you should be able to have veritable evidence. Push it out. Now that removes you from the terrain and from the argument of political persecution or political criticism to being objective as far as security is concerned. So for now, his own opinion as far as I'm concerned is more tailored towards the political part of it. And I'm not a politician. I like to always address some of these things from the professional perspective. And I've told you, for me, it's 8 years vis-a-vis is 2 years that the government of Kaduna has been on. There's a big wall of difference between the two.
All right. Now let's take away the politics and look at maybe the meat of what was being said and the sense that there might be to it in terms of our approach in dealing with terrorism. Now, hats off to our Nigerian military for constantly putting their lives on the line to protect us. But there's something that has often caused a stir, which is the concept of the non-kinetic approach to fighting insecurity in Nigeria. Another variation of this would be the de-radicalization of terrorists and reintegrating them into society. This has, garnered mixed reactions. There are those who would outrightly say that it's a way of encouraging terrorism because they can run for a few years, come back, confess their sins, ask to be forgiven, reintegrated into the society, their children sent into school. Is this maybe an approach that we need to reconsider?
Okay, thank you. Let me say that for me as a person, a non-kinetic approach in terms of fighting terrorism can never work, except there has been an establishment of a kinetic might. Now, it's just when you talk about two parties going to a negotiation table, there must be a senior party at that negotiation table for the negotiation to work. And as far as terrorism is concerned, the only way you can establish a senior party or partner or whatever is to the extent that who at the battlefield have been able to establish its own might. I'm not saying kinetic approach is a non-kinetic approach is not okay. But as far as terrorism is concerned, all approaches has its own impact and its own result. So one must not be left for the other. Before you talk about non-kinetic approach, you should be able to establish the fact that, look, if you steal, there is consequence. If you kill, there is consequence. And you are able to establish the fact that you have the power to be able to do what? Execute that consequence. Now, if you have not been able to do that, you are now talking about non-kinetic approach. For goodness sake, it's like you are handling terrorism with kid gloves. You are handling it as if it's just a domestic quarrel between a husband and a wife. It doesn't work like that. Terrorism has to do with human beings that do not have hearts, killing human beings that are vulnerable. And after killing them, now you now bring them to negotiation table and you are now begging them. Before you talk about discussing with them, the first thing is that you deal decisively with them. I'll give you an example. Look at the Niger Delta crisis. At the heat of Niger Delta militancy, Obasanjo came. Obasanjo approached it from extremely non-kinetic approach to the extent that the militants could not come out to buy food from their creek. They could not come out from their creek to see their families and their loved ones. They were more or less like banished into the creek. Now in Port Harcourt region, you will see DSS, you see security agencies looking at, eateries and the like. If you go to eatery and you buy food in bulk, you will be arrested. Now, at the end of the day, these boys were not eager because they were hungry, because they could not go out, because they could not have the good life of their own. Now, when President Yar'Adua now came and threw the amnesty program into them, they jumped at it wholeheartedly. That was why you saw that the amnesty program became extremely successful during President Yar'Adua's time. Why? Because somebody has been able to lay a foundation to make the Niger Delta militants understand that if you think you are mad, the government is madder. If you think you are brutish, the government is 10 times more brutish. Now that is what I say as a non-kinetic and kinetic approach. We don't just jump and say, we want to talk about pardon. Look at the history of those that have been said to have been pardoned. And in terms of this terrorism and the like, you call them repentant militant, the terrorists and the like, you give them a crash program. De-radicalization program that we call in this type of, these are not de-radicalization programs, because somebody that have been indoctrinated for more than 20, 30 years of his life, then you now organize a program, bring one cleric for 1 week or 2 weeks, the person talks to the person and you say that it's now okay, you can go back into the society. They go back into the society, they see that the society is not the way they wanted it. They not do well, they become informants. They now also become a bigger threat, Go back to that same terrorist organization. It doesn't work like that. And I think that, I remember Mr. President said something like that some time ago, that look, there should be consequence. It is only when there are consequences that you now call them together and say, let us talk. Let us give you water, give you this, give you that, that they will listen. But for now, if the advantages of being a terrorist is still bigger and better than being a free citizen, for goodness sake, they will still continue at that level. And you look at what is happening today. They have the bravado to go and attack emirs, to go and attack kings and the like, if they feel that those people are liaising with security agencies and the like to divulge information. But why do they have that bravado? Because for now, the military have not been allowed to launch out in totality against them. I think basically, if you have these people that somebody will say kinetic approach today, another person will say non-kinetic approach, and the non-kinetic approach are coming from almost the same region, and they are shouting non-kinetic approach, and the people are being killed there, the citizens are being killed there every now and then, and as far as we are concerned, why would you talk about non-kinetic approach to a person that is 100%. It's on 100 plus 1%, ready to wipe out, and they do wipe out communities. What is the justification?
There's a lot to say. But finally, what's your take on state policing? Good move, and are you excited about it as well?
I'm very excited about it. I'm a strong advocate of state policing because, you know, one thing about as it is today, if you look at the issue of crime and criminality, if I bear arms and you bear arms, it's a 50-50 thing. You are not too sure of whether you'll be able to shoot first or I will be the first person to shoot. No matter how hardened you are as a criminal, except you are under substance, everybody is afraid to die. Nobody wants to die, especially in the hand of a second or a third party. So to that extent, and governors will no longer be able to complain that they are incapacitated. Communities will be able to defend themselves if you talk about state policing. Because now at this point in time, all the vigilante boys, all the boys that are in each community will be, you know, become staff of their own state police respectively. They now have the legal power to be able to bear arms, and they now have the legal control of the commissioner of police within that state. And so for me, as far as I'm concerned, it's good. The police, the agency, the state will be able to arm themselves, will be able to, you know, have their own security strategies and the like. They'll be able to know how to handle it. Each state has its own peculiar security challenge. But as it is now, look at what is happening when the police said that no human Nigerians should bear arms. Those that have arms and licenses should deposit it. You now make the whole Nigerians so vulnerable to the extent that, you know, you go to villages, you see people that are being killed and they are without. It's just at times, some of the terrorists may not be more than 5 or 6 that will storm a community. They will perform great havoc in that community with just 5 or 6. How many are they? The old terrorists we are talking about disturbing the whole country, how many are they? Are they up to 100,000? Compared to the numerical strength of our security agencies, do they have that might? They don't. But because, you know, it's like somebody, our hands are tied, and somebody is flogging us, and we are asked not to lose our hands. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, it's a good one. The only thing I would ask the government to do is not to start with an absolutism structured in a manner that it moves, you know, it also has some level of authority and flow up to the federal level so that any governor or any commissioner of police does not become power drunk as much as possible. But there should be that line. It's just like in the US or in the some other, especially in the US, it can get to a level where, you know, FBI can take over any matter at any time. It doesn't make any difference whether it is any metropolitan police that may be in charge. They can come and take over any investigation at any point in time. I think that they should look at that police information and all those stuff like that. If they're able to look at it from that perspective, and there's this concept that it is not absolute, there's also a higher authority that when we get to a certain level and it becomes very obvious, I think that would make it a better one. It should be able to be structured in such a manner that they also have that boss at their back. That's the way I see it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tony Ofeyato, for joining us. Dr. Tony is Director General, International Institute of Professional Security. Thanks for your insights on this topic.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate having me.
Great. Let's tell you what's coming up next here on Breakfast Central. Coming up next, FCCPC regulates digital lenders. We'll take a look at putting an end to harassment for those who, get money from loan sharks and the likes. Ex-soldiers protest. We have that story as well. And ahead of River State emergency rule end. Stay with us for all the details. Welcome back. It's Breakfast Central. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, has rolled out regulations to curb harassment, data breaches, and other unethical practices by digital lenders in Nigeria. Now, this was disclosed in a statement signed by the FCCPC's Director of Corporate Affairs, Ondaje Ijagu, which quoted the Commission's Executive Vice Chairman and Chief Executive Officer, Tunji Bello, as unveiling the new framework in Abuja on Wednesday. For too long, it says, Nigerians have endured harassment, data breaches, and unethical practices by unregulated digital lenders, end of quotes.
The statement noted that the Digital, Electronic, Online, or Non-Traditional Consumer Lending Regulations, DEON Consumer Lending Regulation 2025, took effect on the 21st of July, made pursuant to Section 17, 18, and 163 of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act 2018. The rules introduce a comprehensive framework to safeguard consumers in Nigeria's fast-growing digital credit market, from 100 million naira fines to mandatory registration and bans on automatic lending. The FCCPC is drawing a hard line, but will it be enough to protect borrowers and clean up the sector? We'll go into the conversation proper, but first, let's take a look at this report.
A friend introduced me to the loan, that I can get a loan, so from there, I can survive with it, not knowing that it will lead me to where I am.
The first port of call for low-income earners, who are predominantly the most affected, is often no longer a bank or a family member. It's right here on their phones. They are called digital loan apps, promising instant cash with just a few steps, but sadly has now become a nightmare.
In fact, I was thinking about committing suicide, but I looked at my children. I said, if I kill myself, nobody is going to look at these children.
Victims are trapped. Lenders do not care. They just want their money with interest.
This experience is terrible, I tell you. It's very terrible. In fact, it is an instant help, and after that, now wahala.
The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, in its recent release on X, has promised to periodically monitor interest rates of loan apps to protect customers' interest and ensure rates are not exploitative. Take, for instance, a borrower who collects just 10,000 naira. Within 1 week, they're expected to repay 12,500 naira. That's a 25% interest in only 7 days. If you fail to pay and roll it over monthly, that's more than 100% interest in 4 weeks. In another case, a loan of 50,000 naira comes with a 30% interest plus hidden fees. By the end of 2 weeks, the borrower must return 70,000 naira, losing almost half the borrowed amount to interest alone. And for those who cannot meet the deadline, harassment is the next step.
You are the one that is making it difficult for people that are borrowing, unable to pay.
Ola, a single mother of 3 who has had a fair share of vicious attacks from these loan sharks, had to relocate to Lagos State for a possible fresh start. Ola has lost count of apps she's borrowed from, with over 200,000 naira to pay back. She wished she could turn back the hands of time.
So they were looking for me with police, so I ran away. Well, coming from Ogun State, coming down to Lagos, you know, when I'm thinking about how I left home because of loan, I was seriously depressed. I was seriously depressed because at the time I was thinking of just committing suicide. Maybe that would just sort everything. But when I remember, I have 3 children. And my husband said he's not aware of the loan, that I cannot pay. So what will I do? And I have to feed my children. So that was when I changed my thoughts.
Victims who most likely receive messages like these often end up in bad states and, in extreme cases, commit suicide.
They do disturb. That it gets to a point, it gets to a time that I have to be blocking all their numbers. Anytime they call, I'll block it. They'll use another number again, I'll block it. They'll use another number again, I'll block it.
Mental health advocates warn sustained shame and fear can trigger depression and suicidal thoughts and urge immediate support when harassment escalates.
You may want to work with a financial advisor or use budgeting apps to break your debt into manageable chunks. Even paying a little every month or every week as you have access to funds can help. Then, of course, you need to set mental boundaries around finances or around money. You need to avoid borrowing more. You need to avoid buying the things that you don't need. And you need to avoid trying to be like the Joneses. And, of course, avoid checking your balance obsessing over what you owe, because the more you think about it, the more you continue to drown in debt. You must also prioritize self-care.
The Apex Bank has repeatedly cautioned borrowers to avoid obtaining loans from these apps to avoid running into financial difficulties, as many of these unlicensed loan apps are illegal financial entities. In 2023, FCCPC led a joint task force with EFCC, ICPC, NITDA, and the CBN to clamp down on these predatory loan apps.
Any of my friend or my family to even collect loan now, anything loan, I don't have anything to do with it again. No.
Regulators insist that harassment is a violation. If you get such threats, document them and file a report immediately, as no debt is worth a life. In Lagos for News Central, Victor Mbadike.
Wow, very detailed and heart-wrenching report of the realities of people who have had to be at the receiving end of these loan sharks. Joining us for this discussion is an economist. He's been here before, you see him, and today he'll be sharing his thoughts on this story as well as the way forward. We're talking about Mr. Segun Soputan. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I think that report has put some sort of a dampener on the, the conversation today. But let's first of all get your reaction to that video.
It's heartbreaking, to see the kind of damage that these guys are doing and can do to the lives of people that are really vulnerable and struggling to just make ends meet. It's very, very depressing, I think is the word, to hear people talking about suicide, to hear people talking about shame and inability to move on with life and face society, and all of that. It's a good thing that something is being done about it. However, I think we also need to look at the flip side, because there is a flip side to this conversation. I've been a banker of many years, and I do know that as a people, Nigerians, we've got loans that are generally seen as giveaway. And people have this predisposition to think that once I've taken a loan, it's in my hand. And therefore, it's only when pressure is applied in many cases before people do pay, I am not necessarily holding brief for these loan sharks, and we'll come back to them, but I think that we do need to clean up our act as a people in knowing that there are consequences for bad behavior, and taking somebody's money without paying back is bad behavior. If you've taken a loan, have a plan to pay it back, intend to pay it back. And this cuts across the entire society, not just the poor people. I've also had the opportunity to work with certain people in very, very high places, and I know that people do take loans without the intention of paying back. As in, from the moment that they are filling the application, they're already saying, to their associates and their colleagues and their, staff, this loan, they will hear it, I'm not going to pay back, so there's that as well. And we must address that, because apart from the loan sharks, even traditional banks, commercial banks, microfinance banks struggle from non-performing loans. And it's something that we do need to do something about. Fortunately, the credit bureau system in Nigeria is maturing, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to borrow money from proper lending institutions. If you are a serial defaulter, your name will be on some credit bureau register somewhere, and they will throw it in your face. Sorry, we can't give you this money. Your name is in this, your name is in this. They will reel out the names of the companies you borrowed from and how much you borrowed and how you didn't pay back. So we're getting there. So I think on the side of Nigerians, we need to do better. But then, if we come back to these guys, it's a can of worms. Something has to be done about this.
It's really sad, but I'm also going to I want you to talk on the regulations. I like the fact that the FCCPC is trying to ensure that the regulations will be deeply looked into, and then fines from 100 million naira. How can Nigerians detect the right money lenders? Because they seem to be so many now. If you just go on Google and type, you would find, it seems like someone is in his bedroom.
You don't even need to go on Google.
Yeah,
once you're watching
it comes to you.
Yeah, it just comes. It's like somebody's in his bedroom, and they're just like three of us, we just say, let's start giving people money. If they don't pay, we threaten them and so on. How can they curb these from happening?
I think the first thing that Nigerians must understand is just talking about identifying. The first thing is, look, if you want to borrow money, if you need money, quick loan. We call it in the finance world, we call it hot money. And there's a reason it's called hot money. It's hot. It will give you, you will get hot, you know, and maybe we can also do a bit of a pun and say it is also hurt money, because it will hurt you.
So H-O-T, hot, then
and H-U-R-T. It will hurt you eventually in terms of excessive interest payments, in terms of a loss of peace of mind, in terms of the practices that these people will go into if you default. Even in some cases, as we've heard, people don't even default and they get into trouble.
Yeah.
Right? So I think avoiding hot money is a big deal. You just have to. Now, how do you identify them? First of all, the traditional lenders, the people who are properly regulated, are measured in their approach to their marketing efforts, and you will not find them throwing. So you won't find. I can't mention. I understand the rules of your business, so I can't mention corporate names on air. But the major money digital banks, mobile money operators, and all of that, they do lend, but you won't find them throwing loans in your face. The microfinance banks lend, but you won't find them advertising and pushing this narrative. So if you are seeing somebody that is aggressively putting money in your face and saying, come and borrow, come and borrow, come and borrow, run. Run, it's a trap. Because now it's beginning to look like it's actually a racket and a criminal enterprise where people are giving money. You lure people into taking money from you, and then you compel them to pay multiples of that money beyond what ordinary interest rates would normally have accounted for. So I think people need to be smart about their financial habits before we even go into personal finance, you know, saving culture, cutting your coat according to your cloth, not even your size, you know, and all of that. Just avoid these people. There are a lot of them, with all due apologies to the honest ones among them, a lot of them are criminals.
Right. So now, how well do you think that, because you've mentioned that a lot of them are criminals, there's legislation, we're seeing regulation being put in place to check them. Is this enough?
I think it's a start. It has to start from there. You have to have some sort of guardrails and protections for innocent, well-meaning, honest Nigerians who just need a little help every now and then. Regulation is very important, and actually the reason this has happened is that I think that the central bank failed in its obligation, because they are the ones that regulate the finance sector, and whether it's borrowing or deposit taking, it's the responsibility of the CBN to regulate. They've got a department that they call the other financial institutions department. Those ones are the ones that are responsible for the non-bank institutions, finance houses, and all of that, and they do give licenses. How do these guys, you know, go on the road, to, so to speak, and operate, and the CBN is not immediately standing up to slam the hammer on them? How is it happening? You know, even if you say that some of them don't have offices, they have an IP address. It's a digital, it's as physical as this building we're sitting in, these IP addresses. You can actually track people down to where those IP addresses are emanating from. Why is the CBN not doing anything? So it's a very good thing that the FCCPC,
yeah.
The name always confuses me. The acronym. You know, it's a beautiful thing that they've stepped in now. Is it enough? I don't think so. I think that it's a cancer, and it may have metastasized to the point where reeling it in will take a lot of effort. So I would also say to Nigerians that they need to know their rights. You need to know your rights. You know, if somebody is sharing your picture all over the place and calling you a kidnapper or a rapist, report to the police. It's also important. I think this is critical, because a lot of Nigerians don't know this. A loan is not a criminal offense. Please take note. It's not a criminal offense to take a loan. It's a commercial transaction. Now, if you have somebody take a check from you as a post-dated check as collateral, the intention is to criminalize it by presenting the check, even though they know you don't have money there. So the check can bounce, and then they can take you to EFCC, depending on the amount, or to, you know, whatever law enforcement agency is responsible for that level of money. So bear in mind that in most cases, a loan is a commercial transaction. Nobody can threaten you with police or jail because of loan. So a lot of people see those messages and they panic. Calm down. Nobody can do you anything. They can't do anything to anybody, because it's not a crime to take a loan. You know, so, and these guys know this, and that's why they have now resorted to all sorts of tactics. I have a friend of mine, this is a one-on-one I have the message on my phone. I can show it to you right now. I got a message from some random number that's saying to me that I will not mention the person's name. It says, so-and-so currently living with kidney cancer and HIV/AIDS. Please help my life with any amount for treatment. And they put an account number and the name of a bank for me to send money. This person happens to be a very close friend, a female. So I call her and say, madam, what is going on? You must have taken money from someone. Because I know, it's somebody I see regularly. I know she doesn't have HIV, she doesn't have cancer, she doesn't have kidney. I see her regularly. This is a real life story that happened to me and my friend. So these are the tactics that these people...
Having collected
yes, she said so. In fact, they had sent this same message to so many people. And this person is not a poor person. She just ran into a slight tight thing and she fell for the temptation. These apps are in your face. So she just, I need 100,000 naira. Small money, 100,000 naira. And they ruined her reputation.
Small money, big damage.
Big, huge damage.
You call it hot money.
And hurt money.
And in the words of Ira Star, look what a hot money can do. We'll go on a break now. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. Stay with us.
Welcome back. We're still looking at the FCCPC's latest remark and updates, especially in curbing loan shark operators, those who loan money or give you money or borrow you money, as it were, and then threaten your life. And we're looking at the possibilities of managing this. We do have a renowned economist who's here with us, Mr. Segun Shopito, who has indeed highlighted some of these challenges. But I'd like us to look at just another aspect very quickly. Let's look at the aspect of data breach and the recent data protection laws. It is said that most Nigerians don't read through these laws when they are being sent. And you know what we do now? They just scroll down and then we say, just click, accept. And some mention that inside that agreement, there's a clause there that says that they would gain access to your data, your number. Now, from the data protection laws and what these loan sharks do by gaining access to that data, which credibly seems like you've given them access by consenting, does it still give them the right to broadcast these, demeaning messages to people saying, oh, you were spotted, you're a thief, you're a criminal, we'll expose you, and so on and so forth?
It's a complete they're breaking the laws of, the NDPR. We've got the NDPR, which is a domestication of the GDPR, and those regulations protect people's data and protect their privacy. And even when I give you access to my data, there's a limit to the things that you can do with it. You can't just go to the public unless I give you express permission. Now, if the argument is that, in the process of applying for the loan, you've ticked yes to a number of things that you didn't even pay attention to, and therefore, you've signed away your data privacy rights. I know, almost, I won't say for a fact, but there's strong legal opinion that such agreements are not enforceable in court. If you want to bind me to an agreement, it is your responsibility to ensure that I understand what I'm signing, that I've seen it and I understand. So I am aware, for example, that there is a class action, a series of class action suits that I'm also involved in, taking some banks to court for sending unsolicited messages, literally spamming people with all sorts of messages, marketing different products, and the excuse they give is in the account opening form, you've ticked off somewhere, in that fine print that nobody reads, you've ticked off somewhere that, yes, they can send messages to you and all of that. And my lawyer has said very clearly, no, they can't do that. They have to draw your attention to that thing and ensure that you understand it as you're signing. Now, it's debatable, and the matter is in court, and we'll see how it works out, But the person that is working on it is a son, and he has also gotten a lot of his colleagues to say, look, what do you think? And the consensus is that, no, these people don't have a right to your data to use it anyhow, just because you ticked off on some very anonymous, very small fine print, So I think we'll have to wait to see how that plays out. But talking about these guys, I would also like to advise Nigerians that they need to understand that they do have rights, and I would suggest to people to file reports with the police. When these things happen, it's harassment, and a lot of these actions are criminal in nature. In fact, some of these actions are bordering on some sort of advance fee fraud. And, where you are making false promises, to take money from people with the intention of defrauding them in the end. So you can report to the police if you get, your phone number or your face flying around somewhere. Take that number, go to the police station, file a report. And if it comes to it, maybe we need to start thinking and advising people to look at class action. There has to be consequences for these things. So people might want to come together and file class action suits against one or two of these people. Maybe then they'll begin to borrow themselves some brain.
Okay, I think my final question would be your tips. I know you had touched lightly on this, but I want us to expand on it a little further on how people can avoid getting themselves into the situations. Yes, there are situations that life has happened to you, it's beyond your control, you're boxed in a corner. So what measures do we need to put in place to ensure that we can do everything within our power to not find ourselves in this situation? That's one. And then the other angle will be, I don't know, people who would maybe do this for sports. I remember that when the mobile networks, I don't know if they still borrow people money. There are people who plan to port. They'll borrow money from one mobile network and port because they're trying to teach them a lesson.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if that happens with the loan sharks. I would assume that now because we have the BVN, you can't do such a silly thing. So if it's possible, if that is possible for people to do, maybe speak to that as well.
People actually do that. People do borrow money from these loan sharks, and somebody has said it's poetic justice serves them right because people do borrow money from them with the very deliberate intention of not paying back. And they know that at the end of the day, all those messages are just threats. So some of them will say, Shebi is somebody that has shame that you want to shame. Me, I don't have shame. I will take your money and I will not pay back. You can't shame the shameless. So there are people that do game that system. And I think that they also need to be, reined in and called to order because they are doing damage to the system. No economy anywhere in the world can survive, can thrive and grow without consumer credit.
Right.
So I was actually happy when this thing, these consumer lending organizations, digital banks, and all that started. But now it's being abused and we're doing damage to ourselves and our economy. On the other points that you spoke about, first of all, it's very important that people understand that no matter how difficult life is, no matter how difficult the circumstances and situations are, you need to be very intentional about managing your finances. Look, we put ourselves under pressure too much in this country. People borrow money for ashwebi, it's absolutely, look, I am speaking on a public platform, people that know me are listening to this. When I buried my dad last year, we did not have a reception. We did not have a reception because I just told my siblings, they were, we have to have a party, that's how things are done. I said, no, we don't. Look, when we did the budget, I just couldn't justify it to myself that we'll spend that amount of money.
Just for a
reception, one go. The man is gone. We are missing him. Let us honor his memory and do things and say things, let people come and talk about the impact he has had on, not to take ashwebi. So we didn't take ashwebi and we didn't have a reception. We could have afforded it. It's not that we couldn't have afforded it. I just said, no, this is not the way to do things. So Nigerians need to understand that we put pressure on ourselves unnecessarily because of certain cultural norms, and societal values and all of that. Now, having said that, it's also important for people to know that if you're a low-income earner, recognize it. Don't lie to yourself. Recognize it and live within your means. And try to save. People say it's impossible to save. I know it's hard. I know, honestly, it's very hard.
Yeah.
But look, if it is only 1,000 naira you're able to set aside in a week, trust me, if you are consistent with it, you will also see. I know it's difficult, but I think it's something that we need to keep preaching to ourselves so that people that can at least find a way to muster that muscle and do it will do it, and they'll save themselves from some of this embarrassment. And I could go on and on with personal finance tips and all of that, but there's so much to be said about that. At the end of the day, avoid hot money. If there's any tip that I want to resonate in people's mind from this conversation is avoid hot money. If they're offering you money and you can get it in 2 hours, it's hot money. They haven't done due diligence. And it means that they're giving you the money. They know there's something at the back of their mind that is giving them the assurance, confidence to give money to a total stranger within 2 hours. They know that there's something they're going to do. that they will get that money back. So avoid it. You know, if you need money, go to family, go to friends. If you are the type that have borrowed money from all your family and all your friends and there's nowhere to turn to again, then you have a problem that you need to fix yourself.
A borrowing problem?
Yes, you have a borrowing problem that you need to fix yourself. So avoid these people, find friendly lenders. You know, go to a microfinance bank, go through the process. There is no problem that is so urgent that will mean that you need to take money in 2 hours. If the microfinance bank is asking for documentation and it takes them 2 weeks, find a way. Trust me, I've found that people think that they're going to die during the height of that problem, but you won't die. Just go through the process and don't avoid hot money. I think that's the thing I would just like to leave it on. Avoid hot money.
Great tip, Shegun Shokitan. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
And you know, our hearts really do go out to people who have been on the receiving end of these loan sharks. We hope that this conversation has been able to help and that we don't have to see repeat incidences like this in the nearest future. Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mr. Shegun Shokitan, for speaking with us.
Pleasure.
Well, away from that, let's move to a very sad story, and this one has got to do with the Mantau massacre. Now, just in case you do not know, it's a story that has been uncovered here on News Central, but don't take our words for it. Let's introduce this package to you here on Breakfast Central. Please take a look.
The road to Gidam Mantau has always been difficult, rough, and full of obstacles. But today, the journey is even more harrowing. A community where life revolved around farming, faith, and serenity has been turned upside down. According to a press release by the state government, at least 13 people lost their lives during the attack. But the locals tells a different story.
Sun kashe mutane sai kuma suna faɗin cewa to za su tashi garin a ci gaba da sa wuta cikin garin nan. Sun kuma sa wutan nan sun kone mana jama'a waɗanda mu kanmu bamu san adadin mu suka kone mana ba. Sannan kuma waɗanda suka kashe mana a masallaci gawa he dai mu ce mun rihe kaza wasu anan sai su ma sun rihe kaza. Ba mu iya tantance su. To gaskiya a tsakani da Allah in akwai wani dauki da za a ba al'ummar Katsina da Najeriya gaba ɗaya ba sama da tsaro. Ba sama da tsaro. Babu wata walwala yayin da aka ce ba zaman lafiya. Babu wani jin daɗi yayin da ba wani zaman lafiya. Game da gawawaki kuwa ni da hannuna a gabana an rihe gawa ta kai guda 23 da hannuna bayan wanda an dauka an tafi sun mutu asibiti an dawo an rufe a bakin hanyar nan inda ba zai yiwu a ƙara dawo mana sunan ba ba mu san adadin su ba sannan kuma wasu suna can an iba an tai Katsina ba mu san adadin su ba sun mutu suna raye Allah ne masani sannan mutanen mu da dama sun an ebe su an tafi da su an tai daji suna dajin ba mu sani ba sun mutu ba mu sani ba ba za mu iya cewa ga adadin su ba dan akalla a alsashe na wa'anda na lissafa wa'anda na san ba su a hannun mu ko ba ga wasu ko ba su a hannun yan ta'addan nan ma ba su a kuma cikin masara mu lissa mutane sun fi 50.
The scene here is heartbreaking. Many homes have been reduced to ashes, walls blackened, roofs caved in, memories destroyed in an instant. Families are grief-stricken, mourning the loss of their loved ones. Mothers, fathers, brothers whose lives were brutally taken during the attack.
Lokacin da suka sami yaran nan da ya rasa mafita ya haye sili suka sawa gidan nan wuta. Wuta! Wallahi yana saman sili ya kwado ya rugo zai fita. Amma mutanen da suka mai da shi da bindiga suka kashe shi. Lokacin da aka dauki yaran nan mu abinda muke faɗa akan wannan lamarin gwamnati ta taimake mu ba wanda zai taimake mu sai Allah kuma mu karkashin ta muke I am citizenship mu yan ƙasa na gari ne mu ba za mu ɗauki makami mu je mu ta'addanci ba amma wannan zaluncin da ake mana ya ishe mu an kashe iyayenmu an kashe kannanmu an kashe yayyanmu ɗaya ku muka rage a garin nan.
Blood still stains the ground where victims fell, a reminder of the massacre that has left this community shattered. The attacks left this community in ruins. They are shocked, broken, and angry at what they perceive as neglect by the government.
Wallahi tallahi ya yawa wannan da kuke gani gidan karena ne. Wallahi an kashe babanmu, an kashe karena. An kashe mana yayan mu gaba da wallahi an kashe mana yayan mu gaba da yanzu ya mu ya ake zami da rayuwar mu wallahi gwamnati mu ba mu san menene gwamnati ba mu san dadin gwamnati ba wallahi gaba da ilahirin rayuwar mu ba san dadin gwamnati ba wallahi gaba da ba mu gaba da makarantu babu na rantse da girman Allah komi da komi a rayuwar mu yanzu babu komi ya kare wallahi tallahi gwamnati an kashe mana iyali an kashe mana an kashe to yanzu ake so mu sa rayuwar mu ina za mu sa rayuwar mu dan Allah dan Allah ina kuke so mu sa rayuwar mu wallahi garin nan aka ce ya tashi na rantse da Allah gaba ɗaya kasar kare na rantse da girman Allah ya mata kare ta tashi wallahi na rantse da zatin Allah wallahi in garin ne tashi kasar kare ta tashi wallahi ni nake ga muku wallahi tallahi kasar yamma da kare na rantse da Allah ta tashi komi da komi an kashe mana komi da komi ya kare an kone mana gidaje an yi mana menene ba ai mana ba gidan nan wallahi ta'addanci ya kai kala da.
Beyond the inaccessible roads, this community is severely lacking in basic social amenities. There is no electricity, no hospitals, and no school. The community's only reliance is on farming. Farming that has now been halted by the insecurity, violence, and destruction that have engulfed this one peaceful area.
Wannan shine gidan nau da sakona. Da suka shigo Allah sa kafin su shigo ta wannan dan lungun da shiga lungun nan daga nan arewa ai daga nan kudu sai Allah ya taimaka sai nan gurin sai na ce ta kawo dan jaririn ina saman sili sai ta bani shi ita ma ta miƙo hannunta inda Allah ya taimake mu kenan ma za ka ga nan ga inda suka harba bindiga nan a jikin bango da kuma sama lokacin da Allah ya saka sa wuta bata fara karfi ba sai Allah ya taimake mu muka sako tunda in bacin haka ma da haide mu kone a saman sili.
As the people of Gidan begins the long process of healing, the community calls for urgent intervention, security, aid, and justice. Their hope now rests on the government to heed their cries and restore peace to this devastated land. In Katsina, for News Central, Rukayya Jibiya.
Very, very sad. The carnage.
I think sad is actually putting it mildly.
The pain.
You know.
The horror.
This is a massacre. This, again, when I see videos like this, it makes me ask, what is the value of the Nigerian life? What really? And these are the kind of videos that you see, and then they are asking, why is the leader? Why is he always traveling? Why is he out of the country? Because people are wondering. There needs to be a sense of mourning, a sense of collective national mourning. We need to see that our leadership, our president, our vice president, they're visiting these places. In some other countries, what you would see is when there's like a massacre of this magnitude being reported, there's a national day of mourning, 3 days, mourning. So again, if this doesn't tell us anything, it's the fact that we need to declare a state of emergency in our fight against insecurity. It's bad.
All of you said it all. This is where let me just paint a picture for the average Nigerian looking at this situation. If you as an individual, I'm going to use myself. If I have a sore throat like I do have, and you know how it makes you restless because one, you're not feeling the way you used to feel. What's the normal thing you do?
You try to rest, take medication.
You take medications. If the first medication doesn't work, what do? You
try something else.
Try something else. It doesn't work, you go to the hospital.
Doctor.
They check, they ensure everything works.
Well, let's reverse it. You go to the doctor
you go to the hospital.
Yes. That way you
and so on. Yeah. I mean, when I say you take medication, I simply mean, of course, you must have gone to the hospital or go to the pharmacy, and then they say, oh, what's wrong with you? Of course, they can detect and say, take this. So it's still in line with the medical attention that you give to it. And if you bring that same analogy back to our security situation or insecurity situation, this has been going on for far too long. And guess what? It keeps pointing to the same direction, that all of this is hinged on a certain challenge that there is. They've called it a massacre. They've called it, name it, whatever you want to call it, that this is disturbing the livelihood of these individuals who live within a certain space in the same country. So what do? From the previous late President Muhammadu Buhari, who tried all he could, well, in his own power. Remember that the card that was played while he was coming to office was that he was a former general and he was a no-nonsense man. So therefore, if he's coming to power, he's going to
that same energy.
Exactly that same energy, and he's going to do away with insecurity. But unfortunately, he got there, and nothing was done. Rather, it was the same thing that kept happening, that had happened before. At some point, it even tripled. Now, doesn't that tell you that if these things have been continuing, or they're continuing for quite a long time, does it really indicate that there's an interest to stop it? Because it's nagging, it's disturbing. That report you just saw is an exclusive from News Central. I want to say thank you so much to our reporter who put it together. It's quite sad.
It is
really,
sad
really
indeed, very, very sad. But still talking about insecurity, let's now talk about the people who are at the forefront of fighting against insecurity. Ex-servicemen of the Nigerian Army have raised concerns over what they describe as attempts by military authorities to shortchange them of their hard-earned benefits. Their hard-earned benefits, I beg your pardon. This was as they marched to the National Assembly in Abuja, demanding the immediate payment of their outstanding entitlements, which is now causing them so much hardship. Our correspondent, Joshua Imarayi, was on ground, and he now completes this report.
These individuals are ex-servicemen who have served in the Nigerian Army until 2024. Visibly upset, they stormed the National Assembly in Abuja in protest, hoping to express their grievances to members of the nation's parliament. Unfortunately, their march ended before they could approach the gates.
Since when we disengaged from the army, 15 February 2024, we are not being paid what is rightly belongs to us. They only give us part of it.
We have been on this protest for over 4 days now, and they refuse to answer us.
The ex-servicemen accused the Nigerian Army's leadership of shortchanging them by refusing to pay their entitlement in full.
Our big men, they are cheating us. The generals, they are eating our money. They are not doing anything. We have been protesting. They don't listen to us. That's why we come here today, that you people should come for our rescue.
Our service chiefs are taking us from fools, but I want them to know this. We have already drafted a letter to different veterans on different countries all over the world. We have drafted a letter to Russia, which our chief of defense staff run to. I don't know what he's looking for in Russia.
Some say the continuous delay in payment has left them unable to meet personal obligations.
I personally, I was shot in my leg, on my leg. I was fled to China. I was fled to China by my family. I was taken off. I came here at the charge. Army could not take care of me. My family take care of me. So pay me what belongs to me. Pay me what I will take care of. As I'm still now, I'm still taking drugs. I'm still buying drugs. How will I take care of myself and my family? And any other extended family attached to me?
They are pursuing some of us in barrack, and they never pay parking allowance. They never pay us parking allowance. By right, we support all retirees that they never pay parking allowance, so not supposed to leave barrack. But they are pursuing us in the barrack, and they never pay us parking allowance. So they should do the needful.
Meanwhile, at defense headquarters, military officials responded to the accusations during a media briefing.
Some of the issues they are complaining about are not valid. The bulk of their grievance is that they want to benefit from the present chart being used to pay the salaries and wages of military personnel. Unfortunately, they retired before the effective date of that circular. They have been paid their security department allowance based on the effective chart as at when they retired from the service.
While the impasse lingers, it is hoped that ex-servicemen and the military leadership can reach an agreement to resolve the issue once and for all. In Abuja, for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
Very heart-wrenching story there, report, because one would ordinarily wonder, these are Nigerians too, and they deserve to be paid compared to what we've seen in recent days, where there are calls for the increment in the salaries of the political office holders. But our correspondent joins us here. He just brought us that report, talking about Joshua Imarayi. Joshua, I can see it's dry just at the background there in the Federal Capital Territory. Of course, the holiday is here. But can you share with us, first off, how Abuja is this morning, and then what took place while you indeed covered that story? Give us the backstory.
Abuja is currently dry. As you can see, the streets are scanty. The stretch of land here usually comprises of several commuters, individuals going about their daily activities, particularly civil servants. This area seems to be one of the major convergence of civil servants, but unfortunately, today is a public holiday. This place has been met to dead silence. You can echo here and you stand at the end of the street. But however, as regards the ex-servicemen that actually demonstrated yesterday, these individuals have been on this particular demonstration for 4 days now, since on Sundays. Most of them have been laying siege at the entrance of the Federal Ministry of Finance. They have they've erected a tent, a canopy, brought them to supply them power to enable them stay in that place until their demands are met. And the saddening thing is that these demonstrators' action, these repeated action, are being met by silence. Just yesterday, the chairman of the Military Pension Board came out to say that those people, they don't have any valid reasons for protesting. But we are seeing quite a different story here, as these persons are unrelenting, are still pressing on, pushing on their demands.
Okay, so just to double check, what are the core demands that they're asking for? Has there been any official response from the authorities to their demands?
Well, top of the demands is the security debarment allowance. This is actually an allowance paid by the military authorities once an ex-serviceman is being let off the service. And secondly, parking allowance. As soon as a military officer or perhaps a serviceman completes his service to the nation, that person ceases to have access to rooms, apartments in the barrack. And one thing these persons are saying is that ever since they've been disengaged from the service willingly and through due process, they have not been paid this parking allowance. And that means they can't leave the barrack. But unfortunately, they say the barrack authorities are chasing them out of this apartment. Aside that, these persons are being owed 5 months arrears from their terminal leave, and they are supposed to be paid this money, but unfortunately, most of them have not received this money. There are several entitlements and benefits that is accrued to them, but unfortunately, these persons have not been given this money, and it's saddening because most of these persons, they've suffered injuries, they suffered several impairments as a result of the service to the nation. So it is quite unusual seeing that the same persons who fought for the peace and stability of this country, who are on the mouth of the war, are still the same person receiving this harsh treatment from the authorities.
It's obvious that before they could march on the streets, they maybe have had it up to the top, and they're tired. Did you have a one-on-one conversation with either of them, especially the women? Were you able to find out how they are currently surviving?
Well, most of these individuals are actually living from hand to mouth. When I mean hand to mouth, you understand what it means to live without having any finances or perhaps any money to fall back on when you are just going on vibes, just vibes entirely. It is saddening. For the women, they are not really enjoying this situation, because you could see from you could see the report where some of them were telling their own stories. You could see the bitterness. You could see the harshness in it. You could see they were pointing accusing fingers. So, according to them, that they are being cheated by some military authorities. It is quite unfortunate. For the men, most of them have been sleeping, currently are sleeping at the entrance of the Federal Ministry of Finance. If you should go there, or perhaps if I should go there, you see some of them who have been sleeping there for the past 4 days because of this same money. It is quite disheartening.
Well, very sad story there.
Really sad. We do hope that there's some form of compensation for them. These are people who have dedicated the most years of their lives to ensuring that they protect our territorial integrity from external aggression, and they deserve to be able to get compensation for the work that they've put in. Well done, Joshua. Thank you very much for bringing us this report.
Thank you.
All right, if you're still watching, thank you very much for staying tuned to Breakfast Central. We'll now bring you breakfast headlines in a moment. Johansson will be taking us through breakfast headlines. Stay with us.
Thanks for staying with us here for Breakfast Headlines. Let's begin with security matters. The Nigeria Police Force says that it has arrested over 5,900 suspects for various degrees of crime, seizing hundreds of firearms in the process. At a press briefing in Abuja, the Force Public Relations Officer Olumuyiwa Adejobi says that operatives recovered 360 prohibited firearms, including 5,952 rounds of live ammunition. Adejobi says that the successes recorded is proof of the force's commitment to protecting lives and properties of citizens, adding that the police has also arrested a suspect by the name Jane Anodua over a case of child abduction and sale, a case reported by the Plateau State Ministry of Women Affairs. Amnesty International has called on the federal government to urgently investigate the widespread killings and forced disappearances and other grave human rights violations in the southeast region of Nigeria. The organization made the call during the launch of its new report, A Decade of Impunity, Attacks and Unlawful Killings in Southeast Nigeria, on Thursday in Ikeja. The director of Amnesty International Nigeria, Isa Sanusi, said that the organization documented widespread violence carried out by both state and non-state actors, including unlawful killings, torture, arbitrary arrests, and attacks by armed groups. Let's tell you that Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoyede, has urged Nigerians to embrace transparency and accountability as part of efforts to curb corruption. The FCC chairman spoke through his assistant commander and head of public affairs at the Benin Zonal Directorate of the Commission, Williams Osegale, at a conference sponsored by Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited in Delta State. Olukoyede said Nigeria can only attain good governance when citizens play their roles with commitment to accountability and due process. He added that the country's socio-economic challenges are rooted in corruption and its effects. Meanwhile, the Kogi state government has stepped up its fight against illicit drugs by reconstituting a 26-member drug control committee. At the launching, Lokoja, the secretary to the state government, Dr. Folashade Arike Ayuade, said the move aligns with the National Drug Control Master Plan and aims to reduce the sale and use of hard drugs across the state. She stressed that the Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo's administration is determined to make Kogi unsafe for drug traffickers and users. The committee includes members from NDLEA, ministries, local governments, NGOs, and religious groups. NDLEA Commander Umar Mustafa Yahuza, who co-chairs the committee with the governor's wife, Hajia Safinat Ododo, pledged their full commitment to achieving the committee's mandate. The chairman of the House Committee on Youth in Parliament, Honorable Olami Juwonlo Alao Akala, has stressed the need for constitutional and structural reforms to address Nigeria's complex challenges. Speaking at the Nigerian Youth Dialogue in Abuja to mark International Youth Day, he said outdated systems no longer serve the country's realities and only dialogue can build consensus on reforms that generate and guarantee security, stability, and opportunity for future generations. Other lawmakers who spoke expressed their commitment to strengthening youth-focused policies in areas such as entrepreneurship, digital innovation, climate action, and governance, but warned that collaboration is essential to translate ideas into concrete programs and laws.
A lot of narrative keeps going that, we've done this, what happened from the last one, what happened from this one. These things are gradual. These things are not magical. These things are not science. It's not scientific. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. No. There are a lot of loopholes. A lot of things you need to jump. Like I said, Nigeria is complex. Passing a bill is not easy.
As legislators, we remain committed to strengthening policies that empower young people, whether in entrepreneurship, digital innovation, climate action, or governance. But we need collaboration. We need a system where the ideas from this dialogue are not left on paper, but carried into budgets, programs, and laws that impact lives.
The report highlights not just the challenges of unemployment, insecurity, poor governance and exclusion, but also it highlights the clear and practical solutions that youth themselves have proposed. It reminded us that youths are not passive beneficiaries of policies, but active agents of change, leaders, innovators, and problem solvers in their own.
The Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria has warned against the spread of fake news, misinformation, and the attempt by citizens to publicly tarnish the image and reputation of notable Nigerians. Huriwa, during a briefing in Abuja, frowned at the allegations of sexual misconduct being peddled against the former Minister of Special Duties and Intergovernmental Affairs, Kabiru Turaki. The national coordinator of Huriwa, Emmanuel Onwubiko, describes the allegations as malicious and baseless, saying that they have already been disproven by law enforcement authorities. Onwubiko urged the public to refrain from spreading unverified information about citizens and supports the rule of law by reporting such persons to law enforcement agencies.
133 murder/homicide suspects and 143 suspects for the unlawful possession of prohibited firearms. The force also arrested 371 suspects for sexual-related offenses, 590 suspects arrested for cultism, and 3,272 suspects arrested for other various crimes. The total number of firearms recovered stands at 337, with a total number of 4,445 ammunition of various calibers recovered, 278 stolen vehicles recovered, and 283 rescued kidnapped victims.
And let's round things up in Ghana. Ghana's Savannah region, violent communal clashes over land disputes have killed at least 31 people and displaced nearly 50,000. The unrest, which erupted late last month, has forced many residents into makeshift camps, while more than 13,000 have fled across the border into Ivory Coast. The clashes involve farming communities in the north and have raised security concerns across the region. Savannah Region Minister Salisu Wurubi called for cross-border cooperation to prevent further violence. Authorities are now working to restore calm and provide aid to the displaced. And that's all we have for you here on Breakfast Headlines. Don't forget to tune in at 12 for the 12 report, where you get a fuller news bulletin. Meanwhile, stay with us. Front pages of the newspapers is up next. I'm Joe Hansen.
Welcome back. Now let's take you through the front pages of the newspapers and see what the dailies are saying. We have our in-house analyst joining us today, but you also get to be a part of our analysis. All you need to do is to call the numbers on your TV screen and share your thoughts on any of the stories, question anything, and maybe disagree. You're free to disagree with us if you want to. But joining us this morning is the head of our research team here at News Central, Abdul Latif Ahmed. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Welcome.
And happy Eid al-Malud.
Thank you.
Is that how, I mean, it's happy we say now?
Yeah, happy Eid al-Malud. It covers for it.
What's the significance of the celebration?
Well, for some Muslims, it's to mark supposedly the birthday of the Holy Prophet. But the Prophet himself doesn't mark his own birthday, and his companions do not really bother. So we just, but you know, we are Nigerians, we kind of like to celebrate some of these things. So
yeah.
That's it.
Anyway, any opportunity, I'm happy to celebrate every
opportunity.
Any opportunity. All right, let's get into the papers this morning and see what the Daily Times newspaper is saying. On the front page of the Daily Times newspaper, here we see federal government to commence payment of debt owed local contractors, according to Deputy Speaker. Recall that yesterday we took the video of the protest happening. You can see the pictures on the front page. It says interest on loan from... It's not very clear, But yes, he said interest from loan, whatever, is killing us, pay us now, CBN, OAGF, FMF. So they're saying that this debt will be paid. Boat mishap, Labour Party demands robust legislation, stricter regulation of waterways. Nigeria seeks economic diplomacy agenda to empower women and youth. Troops arrest over 62 terrorists in 42 towns, villages in August, according to Defense Headquarters. FISC police strengthen synergy for safer roads in Lagos, Ogun. UNICEF confirms receipt of 300 million naira, pledge of 1 billion naira from Bauchi government for CNF. And at the top of the paper, we can see here, I witnessed a lot of betrayals during 2015 elections, according to former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. All right, let's maybe start with the story, the security one, troops giving us the updates, saying the troops have arrested over 62 terrorists in 42 towns, villages in August, according to Defense Headquarters. And I thought it was important for us to start with that, especially because insecurity has been a conversation on the front burner in the past week, especially with regards to the state police, adoption of state police or endorsement of state police by the presidency, the statement by Nasir El-Rufai about the non-kinetic, quote-unquote, non-kinetic approach the federal government has applied to the fight against insecurity, and the statement of the Zamfara state governor, Dauda Lawal, regarding knowing where these terrorists are, but not being able to do anything because of the limitations by the federal government.
Yeah, so a lot of things tied together around security. When you speak to anybody, around security circles, they'll give you all the sweet, all the interesting ideas of the how and what to do. But what we must understand is our security concerns at the moment come from a convoluted approach, let's say convoluted issues put together. One, state policing. If you want state policing, it's a good idea on paper. The problem with state policing is that we understand the behavior, the tendencies and proclivities of our governments or our governors in states. There's a tendency for them to overreach themselves. We saw the things that El-Rufai, for example, did with power when he was in Kaduna State. There were political, people who were on the other side of the political line that he was aggressive against, and he deployed the state powers aggressively against. So today when people ask certain questions, it is because of the fear of how governors, the tendencies for them to use the police or the security agencies, in ways that leaves a lot to be worried about. So if you allow governors, I support state policing, but I would rather it be in an adjusted manner. For example, how about community policing and state policing? Because in every community, you know the good and the bad boys. In fact, every community you go to, everybody knows the faces of people who have the tendency to cause problems, and then they know the people who are not likely to cause issues, and then they know where the loopholes are, so they can easily police themselves, and then they can even tell if a new face comes into the community, this person is new here. Where are you headed? It's easier that way than to deploy somebody from Kogi State to Lagos State to police Lagos, or to deploy somebody from Ebonyi State to police Bauchi State, because he's in the federal employ. So state policing, fine, on one hand, but there has to be a way to say, probably the funding of the state policing. If at the moment we have policemen, federal policemen who are owed salaries, who do not have good condition of service, what happens when we have state police, where governors who are even owing teachers will be the ones to salary policemen? Sometimes the policemen would rather answer the governors than the state. By the state, I mean what they need to do to protect the state. So it's an iffy situation. We are happy that there's an increase in the combat, in the operation against bandits, terrorist locations, and all that. Especially again that we're in a rainy season, where the visibility is very poor. The grasslands are thicker and all of that. So, but we keep getting positive reports about the effort of the security agents. So we commend them on one hand, but we say whatever it is we need to do, and of course the president has even requested a speedy enactment by the parliament for state policing. So let's hope that this complaints that has been for decades, that because we do not have state policing, we'll see a different, approach in terms of how we now go on from here.
But the thing is, and I hear you when you say that there's a likelihood of abuse. Everything can be abused, everything can be exploited, but don't the benefits outweigh, the disadvantages?
Readily, it does. The problem with human beings is that every time you give a leeway, there's a chance that people will exploit it. You just give somebody a hand and is looking for a handshake. You give, somebody a handshake and is looking for a hug. So sometimes you allow the law to take, to provide facilities to help police the state, to help improve security concerns, and then you have somebody saying that, for everybody that does not listen to me, for everybody that opposes my views, for everybody that does not align with my political, line of thought, clamp them down. They are the problems with the states. Remember some time ago we had this governor who said people who have a particular haircut should have their hair forcibly cut.
That governor is a very interesting.
You now begin to understand what it will mean when you give such a person the powers to other police.
Because he has done something new again.
Exactly.
You get it. Forward, no more preaching.
Religion, yes.
So for me, I totally agree with that, because it's problematic in most parts of the north. In fact, in Nigeria, I want to go to work. I don't want you to pollute my ear with a lot of...
Like the one we heard this morning.
I tell you, you get it. So you are in a bus, you are commuting to work or something like that, and somebody is disturbing you in the bus.
In a way, cut into freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech, yes. But the problem
freedom
is...
of religious association.
Yes, you can preach, but you don't have to make noise. For example, if I am in the bus, I don't want to listen to anybody preaching to me. You don't have to increase the volume of the music, the preaching on your what do you call it, speakers, too loud. Listen to it. I don't have a problem with that. But you may be disturbing me because I probably need some quiet. Same thing if I'm in a bus, or even if I'm in a public place, or I'm a trader in the market, and then you have megaphones, making all the noise. Go to church or use some other means, but you do not really. In parts of the world where things are done sanely, you don't see people disturb others with all of these things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move to another paper. Okay. Again, just to mention that we'll take a few calls today. The numbers to call are on your TV screen. Let's hear what you think about the stories that we're looking at on the front pages of the papers. And your analysis is important to us. But let's take a look at the Punch. On the front page of the Punch, Afenifere, northern leaders demand state police amid delays. Federal government defense delay, says security reforms undergoing due process, framework with states. Afenifere, MBF, PANDEF insist state policing overdue. Northern leaders press for action. Now, if you look at the top of the paper, I'll take others later. Let's take them in beats. The top of the paper, top right corner. Jonathan blames betrayal for 2015 loss. He made the remark in Benin, the Edo State capital, during the 70th celebration of Chief Mike Aibeni Ogiadome. According to him, Ogiadome is one of the few friends he has who can stick out their necks for him. He says, and I quote, "Politics is in the Nigerian standard is about betrayals. I've witnessed a lot of betrayal during the 2015 election. You will find it difficult to see somebody who says the same thing in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening." During Jonathan's presidency, you remember that Ogiadome served as his chief of staff between 2010 and 2014. And, it's interesting that he said this because now there's been widespread speculation about the possibility, the potential of him being thrown back into the ring.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those who understand former President Jonathan, he's a gentleman. He doesn't want things that would really upset him. But I understand where he's coming from. What a lot of people do not even understand is that horse trading and betrayal are the currencies you trade in politics. It is by how much betrayal or how many people you can betray that you get forward. So that is why sometimes they see politics as a dirty game. But the problem is, what do you do with the politicking? If after all the betrayal, all the horse trading, you get into positions of power and you are unable to use power for the benefit of the people. Now you are president, tomorrow you are governor, tomorrow you are minister, but what were you able to do with it? What are the legacies? What stands you out? If you were going to compare yourself with someone elsewhere in another part of the world, what have you done that can match that person's achievements? So it's not just about power for power's sake. It should be power for the sake of the people, for you to be remembered in good light, for you to be entered, not just in the footnotes of history, but in the headlines, of history, to say these people impacted on our lives in a positive way.
Okay, I want us to take another story, middle of the, the Punch newspaper. INEC, new parties seeking INEC registration surge to 171. INEC said that, the number of associations have risen to 171 following the submission of 19 additional letters of intent. The Independent National Electoral Commission confirmed on Thursday. He said that since their last update, 19 more letters have been received. So this is as at 3rd of December, they had 171.
Beautiful. Imagine you have a ballot paper that is that long, 171 parties. It will cost us more to print. But INEC should be able to make provisions to say, if you want to be, what do you call it?
Political
party, you must have structures in 774 local governments with known faces and with known jobs. Not just umbrella. It cuts you down. It makes you more responsive. Because if you're going to, people think political parties are like parties where you just do some Owambe things and all of that. They just want to exist for existence. In fact, there are people that they just want to have their names on the ballot. They're not going to even campaign or make any noise.
Some of them is just to be able to say 2027 presidential candidates or gubernatorial candidates.
So we should, people will always try to jump, but you know how to shoot them down. You should be able to create, a check system to ensure that people who are willing to abuse provisions and, this idea of freedom of association, it's fine. You can associate with anyone, but you don't have to become a political party in Nigeria. But if you want to become a political party in Nigeria, then you must have the structures, the pan-Nigerian structure, to say, okay, it's not just me in my Orita Meta or some parts of Nigeria, and then you say, okay, yes, we have a political party. You must have structures. You must have people that represent you, across the country.
So they said under the Constitution and in the Electoral Act 2022, INEC registers political parties that meet strict requirements, including having a national headquarters in Abuja, a distinct name and logo, evidence of nationwide membership, and the Constitution and Manifesto consistent with demographic principles. The Commission also reserves the power to deregister parties that fail to meet these standards. In 2020, it deregistered 74 parties for failing to win seats in the 2019 elections or to comply with constitutional requirements, and that by 2023 elections, only 18 parties were officially recognized. So
that's fine. That's fine.
Way to go.
Well, we'll get to see what that will lead to. But anyway, let's look at another story. Federal government seeks fresh $1.75 billion World Bank loan.
After announcing that they've met their expenditure for their revenue for 2025, revenue target, and that they're not borrowing from local banks. Okay,
so the government will not stop borrowing. And sometimes it sounds very silly when government says they are going to borrow, Borrowing itself is not a problem. It is usually how these borrowings are applied. What Nigerians should be asking for example, is to say, between 2023 that the president came in, how does the borrowing, impact the lives of people? What have the borrowings reflected on what the president or what the government, had initially promised to do with the monies? If that is not it, then Nigerians have every reason to kick against, another borrowing. But again, how much of that reaction, would cause the government to not go ahead with borrowing? So it's all about how we manage these funds. It's not the borrowing that is the problem. It is in managing the borrowing.
All right, we have Eric calling from Kaduna. Let's take that call. Thank you, Eric, for calling. Good morning. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, everyone there. I just want to make a contribution to the news about the comment of Goodluck Jonathan, our former president, saying that, politicians are, are deceitful in all their dealings. That's the summary of it. And what I want to say is that it's unfortunate that he got to discover that after he left office. it just shows that he wasn't really prepared for the office he occupied. You know, this is what he ought to have known, and then, you know, it would be a different thing if he was aware of this, and then he would know how to deal with issues that you know, came up when he was there, and you know how to deal with the politicians. But it's unfortunate that it's no longer there. He just discovered that after he has left there. So, well, going forward, I'm sure, and we pray that others will learn from this. That's just my brief comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments.
That's all right. Yeah, I think you've touched on the borrowing. We're looking at that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at another story here. Let's go to the next paper. I think we should take a look at the next paper, which is This Day newspaper. CBN replacing civil servants with APC members as LG account signatories, says Oshu Algon.
That's problematic. So the first thing is to be able to prove that APC members are the ones getting the jobs. You know, you can actually, you know, get a database of members and say, okay, this person is here, this person is here, and this person is here. If you're able to establish that, then there's a ground for concern, because the government or the country is not for a party; it's for everybody. There are people who do not even belong to any party, and they have to be employable. They have to be able to get into positions of governance. So it's not just about who belongs to what party. You may favor your party members because that is what all people in government do, but that is not to exclude people who are from other parties. In fact, the best team that you will ever have is a mix of people from, you know, pro and against, because you can now hear dissenting voices. You can hear, you can see multiple views to an issue, and that helps you to be able to resolve issues holistically. You don't listen to people who just keep telling you that, oh, your government is good, your government is good, and then you do not listen to others who are saying, you know what, there's a problem that needs solving. So it's an issue that government has to look into. Yeah.
Okay. Still on the front page of this, Tinubu departs Abuja for 10-day working leave in Europe. So there are two stories I want us to quickly talk about. The working vacation.
The working.
I mean, the former senator said he doesn't understand the statement of
working leave, be it working leave, be it working vacation, be it absence from the office. As long as the president is leaving the country, he needs to transmit authority to the vice president. By not transmitting authority to the vice president, the president has contravened the constitution. He's in breach of the constitution. That is one. Two, it is not by the number of days. It's the fact that you cannot run Nigeria from wherever you are vacationing. Are you getting me? That means you must transmit power. Otherwise, your aides and other people who are not the vice president can say in the name of the president. This happened during the times of Goodluck Jonathan, when President Buhari would go, you know, out of the country for days for medical, you know, tourism and all that, and then his aides were doing a lot of shady things, you know, and leaving Jonathan on the side, sidelining the vice president, because they had access that the vice president didn't have, and the vice president cannot act in contravention of the law.
That's during Buhari's time.
They are during Buhari's time. Because now that he's saying he's going for 10 days, let's assume it's 10 days. If something happens on the second day, for which the president is going to be admitted for, say, another 3 weeks or for a month, say, a medical emergency, considering his age, people at that geriatric age will definitely are prone to falling sick. If the doctor recommends that he has to be, you know, treated, he has to be there, is he going to rush to Nigeria and sign, you know, and write a letter? No. So do what the Constitution says. You have done this last year, and the Parliament, you know, didn't object to it. Well, a few civil societies might have objected to it, but you have Nigerians who are just basically watching. People should be able to hold the president to say, you know what, we don't have a problem with you going on leave. Transmit power to the vice president. That way, we know that you're upholding the Constitution. But as long as he leaves the country without transmitting power, he's in breach of the Constitution.
Okay. That one is an extended issue. I think the final story, as quickly as you can. Police summoned ex-Kaduna Governor El Rufai, others for disturbance of public peace. I know that there was an issue with the ADC when they were having their meeting, and they accused the thugs, attacked them, and then they accused. So if you can, in 30 seconds, because we have to go for entertainment.
Yeah, it's fine. If they are calling him, they probably want to get get clarity over what he witnessed, what he saw, what he thinks, because as a governor of Kaduna State for 8 years, it is impossible for him not to have an idea of how this came about.
Even though the police was there, and he's blaming the police. So the question now will be, who's going to investigate? Is the police going to investigate?
Well, the DSS will investigate, but in any case, let's hope that there's something that comes up.
I guess we'll just have to wait. Abdulateef Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, as we typically do here on Breakfast Central on Fridays, time for entertainment, and we have the world's best entertainment correspondent, Sam Dandy, here with us. We'll be right back in a moment.
We're right back, and statement is up next, and Sam Dandy is here with us. Good morning to you, Sam.
Morning.
Good.
Bonjour, le Massi.
Wow.
No.
Sorry.
What is le Massi?
I didn't know. I didn't really know.
We got to take French classes.
Please.
Bonjour, monsieur. Ça va?
Ça va bien, merci. Et vous?
Bien, je vais bien.
Welcome. Please go ahead.
Let's hit entertainment. Now, let's start with this one. Renowned record-breaking Nigerian chef Hilda Bassi, who in 2023 made headlines by cooking non-stop for 93 hours and 11 minutes to claim the Guinness World Record for the longest cooking marathon by an individual, is gearing up for her next ambitious feat. Now, on September the 12th this month, she plans to use a 22,619 liters pot measuring about 6 meters by 6 meters and 1.3 meters deep to cook 250 bags of basmati rice and create the world's biggest jollof pot. She's aiming to feed some 10,000 people. Now, this time it's more than just a record, she says, but a celebration of our culture. Her last record sparked an all-time high in record attempts by Nigerians, and everyone's eager to see this happen again.
Well,
I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
All the best.
I hope it tastes just as good as, everyday jollof.
She set the record for, I think it was some years back. Interestingly, we were the ones who interviewed her just before she broke that record.
Did you see the countenance in my face? I said, all the best.
Why? No, well, I'm happy for her. I think that there's no limit to what she can do, and she can continue to give herself the opportunity to
We've seen a few videos of how big this pot is.
So when she's cooking it, you'll be feeding people.
When it's done, I guess people will be served.
Traffic.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be an interesting one. What day is it again?
On the 12th.
12. Okay.
Let me
so that I know how to map my movement.
I'm just interested in tasting that jollof, to be a part of the record-breaking tastes of that.
I'm proud
jollof.
of Hilda Bassi. I'm proud of what she's done with her brand.
She's breaking ground.
She started, from when I recall, I know she's done media, gone through media. She had a passion for cooking. She runs a restaurant business, and she's been able to align the fame that she got from Guinness World Record, and she's aligned it in her favor. A lot of people go for reality shows, break records, and never really do anything positive with it. But Hilda has been able to do something positive with it, not just sparking. I think she set a trend.
That's right.
She's encouraged other people to, and giving them the confidence and boldness to pursue their dreams. So I'm rooting for her. I certainly wish Hilda Bassi all the best, always will.
Well, I'm hoping that we don't see too many more people trying to break records. Remember, there are rules for these things, and but proud of those who have gone ahead to break records after this one. Let's move from that to the music scene. In a bold call for gender inclusivity in Afrobeats, Tiwa Savage recently criticized the long-standing Big Three label, popularly reserved for, of course, Wizkid, Davido, and Burna Boy, pointing out that the genre's explosive rise cannot be discussed today without acknowledging Tems. Tiwa cited Tems' list of achievements, including her Grammy win, of course, Billboard Hot 100 chart-topping success, and her high-profile collaborations. And these are as powerful evidence that she deserves a seat at the table. Her comments reflects a shifting narrative around Afrobeats leadership, especially with rising stars like Rema, Ira Star, and Ashake also gaining traction on the international stage. Before we even talk about that, Tems is still in the news. She just delivered a standout performance during Coldplay's sold-out show at Wembley Stadium on September the 3rd. thrilling more than 90,000 fans, of course, with some of her hits like Free Mind. She shared the stage with, of course, Coldplay is one of the world's biggest rock bands, and this solidifies her global appeal, and honestly, an effortless bridge between what we know as Afrobeats and mainstream international music. You're a fan of Thames, aren't you?
I've always been proud of...
Camera is on us.
Oh, he's forming Coldplay Kiss Cam. This is my... First of all, I want to say I'm so proud of Thames.
Right.
I'm so proud of her because as an avid Coldplay fan who traveled all the way from Nigeria to Bangkok, Thailand to see a Coldplay concert, I know what the Coldplay audience is like. The Coldplay crowd is incredible.
Right.
It's teaming thousands of people that travel from around the world to attend a Coldplay concert. So just her being able to shine on that stage is beautiful. I like that there have been collaborations with a lot of Nigerian artists on Coldplay stages. We've seen Ira Star, who's done excellently with a Look What Her Body Can Do. There's Burna Boy and the collaboration between Burna Boy and Coldplay.
Right.
So I just think it's brilliant and incredible to see the magic that can happen when Nigerian stars, you know, collide with, you know, icons like Coldplay. Chris Martin will forever be a fave. So well done to them.
I mean, looking at the video,
look at the crowd.
Look at the people.
You know the interesting thing, let me give you some fun facts about Coldplay's concert. I know you can see the lights, the touch lights, but beyond the touch light, if you look closely, you can see their wristbands. These wristbands are part of Coldplay's performance.
Wow.
When you're walking into the stadium, they're giving you these wristbands. At some point, so for example, if they're performing this song, look how the crowd stars
shine for you,
and everything you do.
It was all yellow.
All the wristbands turn yellow.
Oh, wow.
So the wristband is actually part of their performance. And when you're done, you're expected to return it because Coldplay is very big on protecting the environment. So for those who plan to go, they will try to sell some things to you outside. Don't bother buying. Any prop you will use at the concert is given to you at the entrance of the concert.
Wow.
Then, you know, they're so innovative. There are things where you can even power the concert. All you need to do is, I've forgotten what those floors are called. People go and cycle on them. So you're literally generating power for the concert. So particular about protecting the environment.
I'm just hoping that we get to see that as Afrobeat soars. That we get these kind of performances in stadiums here in Nigeria.
My dear, let me not lie. After watching a Coldplay concert, we have a long way to go.
We do. We do.
There's nothing quite like that I have seen yet.
You find your artist climbing on stage looking dapper.
They do well though. They try.
In 2 minutes. And once they say, wow. Dude is naked, man. What was going on?
It's a whole different kind of vibe.
Right.
This, I actually cried at the concert. The level of excellence. I can't keep talking about it. Let's go to the next story.
Let's move to the next story. In a landmark legal decision impacting the late singer Mohbad's family, a magistrate court in Ikorodu has ordered a DNA test to ascertain the paternity of his son, Liam Aloba. Now, the court approved the request brought by Mohbad's father, Joseph Aloba, citing the sensitive nature of establishing paternity for both legal and welfare purposes. Now, the ruling mandates that 2 tests must be carried out in one accredited hospital here in Nigeria and another abroad, under the presence of both parties or representatives. Now, proceedings are scheduled to resume November 11, 2025. I can't believe we're still having Mohbad in the news.
I can't believe we're still having this Mohbad conversation at this time. The good thing is, okay, fine. Carry out the DNA test eventually.
Let him just do it once and for all. Let's move on.
This is what
it's becoming
should have
exhausting.
been done since.
Right.
You know the problem is, if for those who have lost a loved one, the pressure, the pain, the mental strain it causes on you. Some people, that's why you have people who have lost a loved one, they end up also losing their own lives because the mental demands from going through the entire process is difficult.
It's a lot.
I can only imagine what the father is going through now. Apart from the fact that your son had died a year plus ago, you're still running through, I mean, he's recording music. He's trying to get the corona inquest. He's jumping up and down court cases. He's granting interviews. Oh God, you have energy.
To be honest, I just want them to move on from this thing because I feel like it's been a disrespect to Mohbad's memory. You know, and it's just a shame that this little boy Liam will grow up and see all the drama that his father's death has caused. I just think we need to just move on from it. Can we please go to our next story?
Well, This one's not so great. Nollywood has come together in a heartfelt show of support over the tragic death of Ayomikun, the only son of veteran actress Kweju Ogumola, who passed away on September the 2nd, 2025, following a fatal slip in the bathroom abroad. Now, on September 4, prominent actors like Dele Odule, Olaya Igwe, Ronke Odusonya, Bimbo Oshin, and of course Dukwe, were all in their home in Ibadan to offer their heartfelt condolences. Now, Kweju, the daughter of theatre legend Kola Ogumola, wife of actor Sunday Omobonale as well, had recently celebrated Ayomikun's completion of NYSC in June, making the loss all the more touching and deeply felt across the Yoruba film community.
This is really sad. You know, very sad. Our thoughts, our hearts, and our prayers really go out to them. We hope that she can find comfort. Losing a child is not something any parent wishes for. You hope that you can see, you know, your child sees your end and you don't see the end of your child. So our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers with them.
I do think it's beautiful that we see how, you know, in moments like this, people can come together and, you know, show love and support. I think that should give her some little bit of relief.
It should. All right, so.
We got one more story. Music fans are buzzing after Nigerian artists Odumodu Black, Davido, and Seun Kuti dropped a playful social media teaser hinting at a soon-to-be-released collaboration titled Grooving Grooving. Now, the clip of them in the studio getting the trio vibing, you know, is infectious. It's showing vibes, and this collab is something that we didn't see coming, and we're excited about it.
Let's wait for them. Kudos to them.
I mean, Sam will give us a feel.
I'm sure that you'll give us a feel of it.
4:30.
Yes, when we join
4:30.
the show today. All right, thank you so much, Sam Dandy, for joining us this weekend. As we wrap up the show, we want to just say to wrap up on a sweet note, tomorrow is Blessings Mosugu's birthday, so happy birthday in advance, Blessings. All of us here love you. I know that you watch her every day on the 12th report at 12 noon, so happy birthday and happy married life to Mr. and Mrs. Odunton as you start your marital journey. As for us, we're out of the studio. We'll see you on Monday. Have a wonderful one.
Thanks, Sam.
Happy married life, Sam Dandy.